Ask him to leave it alone.
And he did not, very clearly.
Now I get to do it all over again. Dude.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome in upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. What up, world? How's everybody? How's y'all weekend? Did it go as well as I hope that it went for you? It is Monday. Ba-da, ba-da-da-da. We're here, man. We are here. We are ready to rock and roll. We got a day lined up. Plenty of stuff from the weekend to talk about. You guys are welcome. No, you guys are encouraged. Nay, you are demanded to be a part of the radio broadcast today. Text line's open for you, 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. Give us a buzz. Get on the air with us at 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663, 844-FAN phone. If you want to give us some thoughts, some observations from the weekend, you are encouraged to do so. You can tweet me at The Rob Brown Show on the Twitter device, at The Rob Brown Show. You can tweet the great one at Lonzo Onward. And speak of the ever so charming devil himself, we should say hello to the great one who sits with mild frustration on the other side of the metaphorical glass. Good morning, Lonzo.
I would like to thank the powers that be for just totally screwing everything up. It's going to take me a few minutes to fix the puzzle because when they redid what they did, everything I put in is still there, but it's all moved into different places. So now I have to search through. So there might be an errant thing playing here or there that I miss. But other than that, it's Monday, and I'm so happy to be here. There are some fan bases out there, though, who are unhappy this morning.
Sure are. Hello, everyone in Dallas.
Tears melting the snow. I was more thinking about Dallas fans. They expected that.
Oh, I mean, you were ready to make a run at Buffalo.
Yeah, come on. Dallas fans, they expected that. This is what they get every time. They get their hopes build up and they're ready to go. Bills fans are devastated because they were a team of destiny, according to the media. And they believed the hype and they were there for it. But singular Josh Allen is the only one who showed up.
My mother texted me during that game, and she said, is anybody but Josh Allen playing? And I said, Mom, stop being Lonzo. Just because people like Josh Allen doesn't mean there's some grand scheme narrative to push the guy. And she goes, no, you misunderstood. I meant that nobody but Josh Allen is playing for Buffalo right now. I mean, he's the only one that's doing anything. Even my mother could watch that game and see that Josh Allen was being asked to do it all by himself. Josh Allen is all by himself.
If you are looking on the stream at Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, you will see me pretending to be Diggs right now.
If Josh Diggs spent as much time digging into routes as he did throwing his hands in the air and, BT Dubs, leaving the locker room before the coaches even got in off the field out of frustration. Listen, Stephon Diggs is a hell of a player. Nobody's going to argue that he's a hell of a player. But my man's head was not in the game, and Josh Allen just had nobody pitching in.
You're wrong, though. It's Josh Allen's fault. It's not. I mean, Diggs was open a bunch. Josh Allen just didn't throw it to him. I mean, you could blame Cincinnati's defense. You could blame the snow, which supposedly is not supposed to affect Buffalo because they live there. But Diggs was open, and Josh Allen just couldn't hit him. And he had that, that confused look on your face that Brock Purdy's supposed to have on his face.
Who?
Brock Purdy.
Who?
Brock Purdy.
Who?
Brock.
There it is.
Purdy.
There it is.
Yeah, I didn't want to do that.
Lean into it, Lonzo.
No, I'm going to
It's
cough.
Monday. You just got a whole day of
I am
rest.
going to cough. The claws are still in. But that look that was supposed to be on Brock Purdy's face, that was on Josh Allen's face. Like he had no idea what was going on.
Josh Allen was under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, put on him by hype and media pressure. Oh, he's the next guy. And in the end, Buffalo is Buffalo. That's what it comes down to. And I know you're going to come out with the Kansas City stuff. You know what? Kansas City probably will lose to Cincinnati. That's fine, but at least they are in the AFC Championship game again for like 5 years in a row. Where's Buffalo?
Can you grab me that Joe Burrow clip that's on the roster? When you get a second. No hurry. It's not a priority. Joe Burrow is an ice cold mother bleeper. Joey B does not give a bleep at all. Joey B, after he went out and smoked Buffalo, 23 of 36, 242, 2 touchdowns. Joey B got asked by Michelle Tafoya a question on the field. Was it Tafoya or Tracy Wolfson? I don't even know. It doesn't matter. One of them asked Joey B if he felt disrespected before the game, and Joey B said this. Better send those refunds. Last week, we talked about, if you purchase tickets to a Buffalo, Kansas City AFC title game in the ATL and that doesn't end up happening, what happens? Do you get refunds? Do they not offer refunds? What happens? And Joey B just called the shot. Better get those refunds. Better send the refunds because Buffalo's not going to Georgia. You got to love that, man. You got to love that. Joey B's ice cold. By the way, a Joe Burrow that had to leave Ohio State to be a starter at LSU, then had what I genuinely believe might be the best offense in recent memory in college football behind him in that 2019 LSU offense, who then goes to the league, who has criticism about him and his ability thrown around recklessly. All Joey B has done is in back-to-back years. And, oh, by the way, in case you're playing the Rob Brown Show Home Edition, Joey B in these playoffs, ladies and gentlemen, is 46 of 68 for a 67% completion percentage. In 2 games has thrown for 491, 4 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. Not INTs, 0 turnovers. Completely. Joe freaking Burrow. Oh, by the way, you also have Joe Burrow lining up against 3-star recruit and gimmick offense runner Patrick Mahomes. And on the other side, you have Jalen Hurts, who was benched at the University of Alabama and had to transfer to get his PT, taking on Brock Purdy, who was the number 839 prospect in the 2018 class of recruits and was drafted as Mr. Irrelevant in his draft class. Sometimes you got to take a gamble on QBs, man. Brock Purdy, I agreed with a lot. I was listening to DA this AM on the way in, and I agree with a lot of DA's NFL talks. I think DA's got a pretty good eye for the NFL. But one thing I disagreed with, he said Brock Purdy looked uncomfortable against Dallas. I don't think so at all.
He did struggle a little bit early.
He
did, but he pulled it together. And, easy to do when you got that kind of team around.
When he settled down and when he let Kyle Shanahan's game plan take over. And by the way, we're going to talk a lot about coaching today because I knew Lonzo was going to be coming in, swinging the big stick at me today, and he did before we even got on there. He said, Rob, how about that coaching? Because Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid drew up an excellent game plan and were able to get by Jacksonville. Sean McDermott and Buffalo had no game plan at all, whereas Zach Taylor looked at the offense he had behind Joey B and knew that he was down 3 starting offensive linemen and drew up exactly the game plan that I wanted him to. Short, quick passes, a lot of runs, keep it to where Joey B doesn't have to play hero ball. And they did just that. Mike McCarthy, his offense did not utilize the tools he had. Shanahan, on the other hand, knew, hey, I'm probably not going to need but 21 to win this game. Let me utilize CMC. Oh, speaking of coaching, Christian McCaffrey, who has now scored a touchdown, Lonzo, in 9 consecutive football games and has not been injured yet. It's almost like if you have great players but a bad coach who don't know how to get the most out of them, things are going to go sideways. I thought about this after the San Francisco game. I thought about this after, because look, Kansas City got the 7-point win. And yes, Patrick Mahomes played the second half of that game on a flat tire. But I think we could say Doug Peterson came in and made that game a little more exciting than a lot of people expected it would be.
But you're totally glossing over the fact that Chad Henne came in and went 98 yards to score a touchdown because of coaching.
Yep.
Because of coaching. You could see the game plan change on the fly when Henne came in. It became a different offense that played to his strength because that coaching staff is able to adjust, whereas other ones, if there's an injury, it's done because they have no idea what to do. But Andy Reid and his guys, they have a plan and they executed it perfectly.
Sure did. Chad Henne looked good as the quarterback. And my man Mahomes came off the bench on one wheel to give him some daps. Well-deserved for the former Michigan man. I got to tell you, we talked a little bit last week, and the conversation was triggered by the question mark about would Sean Payton and Tom Brady make a good combo in Carolina, and we got into the concept of, high-level quarterbacking versus coaching, or should we say high-level quarterbacking and coaching, and how important each are. And we basically asked the question, although it was much more nuanced about this. We asked the question, would you rather have an HOF QB and an average quarterback or an HOF head coach? An HOF QB and an average head coach, or an HOF head coach and average quarterback? And listen, let's not pretend that even on one wheel, Patrick Mahomes isn't still better than 22 other NFL quarterbacks. He just is, right? But when Chad Henne stepped in, as Lonzo just pointed out, Andy Reid said, take this Waffle House menu and give me the other one. And dialed up a beautiful game plan for Chad Henne, and it worked out great. Doug Peterson, down in Jacksonville, almost the exact same roster. In fact, I would even argue a slightly less talented roster with the loss of DJ Chark, and Laviska Shenault. And took Jacksonville into Kansas City and gave Kansas City a game. Brian Daboll and the Giants, they talented their way to a lot of wins in the regular season. But Nick Sirianni and Philly were more than prepped and ready for New York. Zach Taylor outdid Sean McDermott in every way, shape, and form, and Cincinnati rolled into Buffalo and then rolled over Buffalo. And Kyle Shanahan does not get enough discussion as potentially being the best head coach in the National Football League right now. Kyle Shanahan just took Brock Purdy and rolled over Dallas with him. And 19-12 game, right? It's not like they outscored them by 30. But it got to be the third. It got to be very evident that Dallas was not going to be putting up 28 today. And so Shanahan said, well, then, guys, we're just going to run the ball. Short dink and dunks, a lot of runs. We're not going to run McCaffrey off tackle. We're going to put Dixon back there for that. We're going to do everything we can to limit the possibility for mistakes. Excuse me, Elijah Mitchell, not Dixon. Mitchell had 14 carries. McCaffrey had 10. Yesterday, well, this weekend in the National Football League, Mahomes rolled on. Jalen Hurts rolled on. Joey B rolled on. Brock Purdy rolled on. 3 of the 4 quarterbacks are considered 3 of the best quarterbacks in the game. And then there's Mr. Irrelevant, who, by the way, how'd you like to be the 49ers decision maker right now? To make a decision that Brock Purdy has just made infinitely more difficult. You go on Brock, you run it back Jimmy G. Hey, Trey Lance is big-time trade bait right now. You said last year coming into this year that Trey Lance was your dude, but now Brock Purdy's out here rolling you into an NFC championship game. I am not envious of the folks in San Francisco who have to make that decision, but I will say there is one decision that doesn't need to be made. You sign Kyle Shanahan to the longest contract he's willing to sign, and you do it yesterday.
Absolutely. And the thing is, I mean, there are a lot of young quarterbacks in the league. You see what you can do with Brock Purdy if he takes them to the Super Bowl, which is a possibility. It may be a little unlikely. We'll see. But if he goes to the Super Bowl, you got to stick with him, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, let me rephrase that. Theoretically, yeah.
If Trey Lance and Brock Purdy were both up on the trade block right now, which one you taking?
If Brock Purdy and Trey Lance are both on the trading block, who do I want? You're talking about the concept of potential versus proven. Do I think that Brock Purdy is going to make a
proven? Who's proven? Purdy or Trey Lance?
Right now, Purdy.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
But my thought is, you look at what Brock Purdy has done, and it's impressive. Nobody is arguing that. Brock Purdy went 19 of 29, 214, no touches, no picks. Was sacked twice for 15 yards and had 3 runs for 8. Let's not pretend that Brock Purdy is Pro Bowl material. He's not. What Brock Purdy is good enough, smart enough that with a well-built game plan around him, he's going to take care of the football, limit turnovers, help you diagnose an offense. It's a good look. But does Trey Lance have the potential to be better than that? Maybe. We haven't gotten to see enough of him to know.
All we've heard about is his potential, and when he finally becomes a starter, he gets hurt. So, I mean, his potential, but still other quarterbacks started ahead of him.
No other quarterback started ahead of him. He was the starter week 1.
This year.
Then he got banged up.
He's been on the team how long?
2 seasons. Backup last year, started this year.
I don't know. I think it's 3, but I could be wrong.
Either way, he got his crack at starter. He lost the crack at starter due to injury. How much do you believe that he's the guy? I can't imagine that San Francisco is throwing that much weight behind Trey Lance if they don't believe that Trey Lance is good enough to be that guy.
You're right. By the way, he was drafted in 2021.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm saying is you have got to discuss the difference between kinetic energy and potential energy here. Trey Lance has a ton of potential energy. Is his potential going to line up with the kinetic energy of Brock Purdy? The Brock Purdy energy we have seen so far, which is average numbers, but with no turnovers. I don't know. I think you got to roll the dice on Trey Lance. Because it is one thing to have great coaching. It's another thing to have great quarterbacking. You become a perennial championship contender if you hit both. Andy Reid and the Chiefs have hit both. The Buffalo Bills have hit one side of the equation. They got a great quarterback, but the coaching leaves a lot to be desired. Cincinnati has hit on a great quarterback. Zach Taylor looked like a great head coach yesterday, but he did not against Baltimore 2 weeks ago. We'll see what Cincinnati rolls out against Andy Reid this weekend. On the flip side, Nick Sirianni looks to be a very good head coach. He's got a very good quarterback. I don't know if Jalen Hurts or Sirianni are, either one of them, great. But they're both very good, and look where the Eagles are. And in San Francisco, you've got a great head coach in Kyle Shanahan, and now we are waiting to see what they milk out of the QB position. We got a lot of NFL talk. We're going to get to all of it this AM. Give me your thoughts after the divisional round. Who do you like? Who don't you? 71307 is the text line. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. 71307 is the number. Give us a buzz, 844-326-3663, 844-FAN-PHONE. If you want to come at us in that direction. You can tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word, if you want to come at us in that direction. All those different ways to get in touch with the show today. Would love to have you on the airwaves with us. Let's take a break. We'll come back. Speaking of Run CMC and his 9-game touchdown streak, it is another aspect of this discussion about head coaching. And I want to talk about that coming up. The NFL draft is 2 months away. Picks 1 through 27 are now locked in. We'll tell you who is drafting where and see if we can get a couple of thoughts on who might go where. And Kansas City without Patrick Mahomes, if they are without Patrick Mahomes and his high ankle sprain. What does that say for Andy Reid? Can the Chiefs get it done against Joey B with Chad Henne under center because of Andy Reid? We'll talk about that. South Carolina picks up a huge recruit over the weekend. What does that mean for Shane Beamer's boys and more on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate? All right, good morning, stream. Ben, welcome back, buddy. Been a minute since we've seen you pop in. Good to have you, my guy.
Let's see if I fixed a mess. I think I did.
We'll find out. Just lowering this one.
Kevin, you asked about Mahomes' ankle. It probably hurts. That's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing it probably hurts.
QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced all-natural regenerative medicine that can give you lasting relief with no drugs, no downtime, and no...
I think if you looked at the playoffs and how the weekend went, you'd probably, if you just go by energy and basic domination, would pick Cincinnati and Philadelphia to be in the Super Bowl. But we'll see. What I said, Kevin, is you ask about Patrick Mahomes' ankle. I said it probably hurts, would be my guess. Am I concerned about his ankle? Yes, I am. But I'm more concerned about Cincinnati's defense. Steven, the update is they stay tucked away for a while because the AFC Championship goes to Kansas City. We ain't going to Kansas City. I did see things out there, people accusing the Jacksonville defender of trying to hurt Patrick Mahomes. I don't think so. I mean, with the way he was moving around before he got hurt, the best way to stop him is to grab his legs. Yeah, Stephen, I don't care if it was favorable or unfavorable. You know, this is a stream exclusive here. It's weird knowing that other people are talking about your nipples. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it's one thing for me to say it, and Rob's in the room, so he has to react. But when another show is talking about it, that's a little weird. Luke, that's a good question. I still have never been to Arrowhead. I would love to go to Arrowhead, and someday I will. Maybe. When I reach the age of 62, I retire and buy a Winnebago to see the country, since I won't fly. Not sure if it'll be a gas Winnebago or an electric Winnebago. I guess we'll see. Has to be a Winnebago so I can pretend to be Woody Harrelson and eat a bunch of pickles. And my hairline will probably be that by then. So, you know.
Look, that's a good question. Let's answer that next break.
I just answered it, but, you know, that's fine. You know, it's just, I was here. He wasn't. I don't know. He just doesn't pay attention to me. That's a, you know.
That. I'll count that as one.
You should.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Rob, don't forget your mic's on. Hence the
or just don't turn it on until after the liner plays. I mean, that's usually the safe spot.
Listen, when I look at it and I see we're coming back, I turn it on so that I don't get to one. But there we are. All right. Patrick Mahomes had to leave that game temporarily with a high ankle sprain, or at least what's being reported as a high ankle sprain. High ankle sprain is an interesting injury.
Especially if you're a Carolina Panther quarterback, because those things will, you know, take you out for
6-8 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
That is the same injury that Sam Darnold had earlier in his career in Carolina. It is an injury that can range anywhere from a week or two to 6+ weeks to recover from. We do not know the severity of Patrick Mahomes yet, at least not that I am aware of. Chad Henne came in, led a long scoring drive. Mahomes would return to that game, though he was playing with an obvious limp. Question here is, without Patrick Mahomes, even if he is available, with a Patrick Mahomes that is 50, 60, 75%, are the Chiefs in trouble? Andy Reid drew up a phenomenally well-executed game plan for Chad Henne. The Chiefs did not miss a beat with Henne in there. But to argue that Chad Henne can do everything Patrick Mahomes can do would be stupid and wrong. You lose a lot when you lose Patrick Mahomes. Are the Chiefs in trouble without the guy? Even with Andy Reid, even with the play calling of Eric Bieniemy, are they in trouble if Patrick Mahomes is not 100%? And the argument to me has got to be yes, Zoe, not because I think the Chiefs are incapable of putting together a good game plan that takes advantage of Chad Henne's abilities, but because of how well the Cincinnati Bengals responded. They struggled against Baltimore. Then they came out and they made Josh Allen and the Bills frankly look silly.
Well, as far as the Baltimore struggles, that's a rivalry. I throw that out. That doesn't bother me nearly as much as the fact that Cincinnati's beat the Chiefs 3 times in a row. And the fact that Cincinnati's defense is pretty wicked right now. They're playing really strong. So even a healthy Patrick Mahomes, completely healthy Patrick Mahomes, is going to struggle against Cincinnati. I'm scared to death of Cincinnati. And it wouldn't shock. I'm leaning towards right now picking Cincinnati to win the game. And, I hate that, but they got on fire and they're still on fire.
Cincinnati did everything right. And it's not so much, you are correct. Cincinnati-Baltimore is a rivalry game. There's a little extra sauce in that game, so to speak. But I think what was the biggest discussion point in that game was more what Baltimore's front 7 did against Cincinnati. And it might be something that you look and you go, okay, well, they drew up the blueprint, right? They drew up the blueprint for what to do. Just copy what Baltimore did. Problem is, that ain't easy because the Ravens have across the front 7 an exceptional amount of talent. Their defensive front 7 is as good as you could ask for in the National Football League, right? You were looking at Matabuke, Jones-Campbell across the front 3, Pierre-Paul, Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, and Tyus Bowser, across the 3-4 back half. There are, I argue, 0 other teams in the National Football League that have built that much talent across their front 7. It just doesn't exist. Cincinnati still got by that football team. They still got by, and then they showed you what they are capable of. By the way, as mentioned a number of times, without 3 starting offensive linemen against a more average run-of-the-mill front 7 like Buffalo has. And the Bills' front 7 isn't exactly weak by any stretch. They are most certainly missing Von Miller, without a doubt. But across the front 4, it's not a bad look, but it's nowhere near what Baltimore is. And Joe Burrow toe him up. But as we mentioned, that is Zach Taylor and a game plan. That was a Cincinnati head coach and offensive coordinator's effort that should be labeled A+++. They didn't ask Joey B to play hero ball. They didn't ask Joey B to go deep a bunch. They asked Joe Burrow to throw a bunch of short outs and short ins. They asked Joe B, just take care of the football. We'll do the rest. The Bengals' numbers in this game were good, but they don't blow you out of the water.
Yeah, but at the same time, watching that game, did you ever think Cincinnati was going to lose?
No.
From the opening drive, there was an energy. There was just something about how they were playing. They just looked like that they were going to win the game, and they dominated that game.
17-7 at halftime. And I thought, all right, if Josh Allen is going to do anything, he's got to come out hot in the second. The Bills have got to come out in the second half, guns a-blazing. They got 3 points in the second half of that game. A field goal in the second half of that game. The Bengals really didn't have to do anything exceptionally special. Joe Mixon had a 100-yard day. He put up 105 and a touch, averaged up over 5 per carry. Joey B, 242 and 2 touchdowns on 23 of 36. It's a good day, right? It's a good day. It's not breathtaking, but it's a good day. But because of the game plan that was drawn up by Zach Taylor, they did not need an incredible day out of Joey B. They just needed him to be smart with the football. They just needed him to be intelligent. They needed him to take care of the rock. They let Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine, and Jamar Chase do the rest. Joe distributed the ball well. I think he had like 11 different receivers catch a football. Right.
And the passes in the snow, even though they look kind of ugly, the majority of them were accurate.
You know, who was it? Was it Troy? I don't know who it was, but one of the former quarterbacks turned booth guys was having a really interesting discussion about quarterbacking in the snow. They mentioned a couple of times that quarterbacking in the snow is kind of difficult because it becomes much more about touch, right? They mentioned the fact that when you're QBing in the snow, it becomes more about the ability to put the football into the spot the football needs to go into and not just slam it through the door, because you want to give your wide receivers the opportunity to make a touch pass, knowing the ball is going to be harder and more slippery than it ordinarily is. So you can't make the same throws. Joey B did that, right? Maybe it was Romo. Kevin asked if it was Romo. It may have been. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. I don't recall. I just caught the tail end of it. But the point is, Zach Taylor drew up a beautiful game plan with the knowledge he had about where his team was. That is down 3 linemen. And they figured it out. So if Patrick Mahomes is unavailable against the Bengals this weekend because of that high ankle sprain, I think you have to acknowledge the Chiefs are in a little bit of trouble, which sucks. Because Joey B versus Patrick Mahomes could arguably, Lonzo, be a game that helps settle the debate of who's the best quarterback on planet Earth right now.
Yeah, I think it's really, they're not playing each other, and it still comes down to defense, and Kansas City's defense is suspect and has been all year. They make plays when they need to, but in the end, Kansas City still has to have the ball at the end, usually, to win a game. I think it's a big story if Cincinnati comes in to Arrowhead and wins the game and goes to the Super Bowl for the second year in a row. But it's also a big story if Patrick Mahomes is able to overcome the high ankle injury and lead his team to the Super Bowl again.
If Mahomes comes in and plays on a busted wheel and wins this game, yeah, we're going to be talking about it for a very long time.
He was out there throwing balls, hopping. I mean, you know, he was out there hopping on one leg, throwing some accurate balls. So we'll see.
For sure.
Things like that, they hurt worse the next day and the next couple of days. They're not going to practice, period, anyway, I don't think, for a couple of days. But he definitely won't. How much soreness is going to set in while he's sitting around? You know he's getting treatment, though. If he can walk, he's going to play. The question is,
can he walk?
Yeah, well, would you rather have Chad Henne after you saw what he's able to do, or a one-legged Patrick Mahomes?
No, I'd rather go Mahomes, because here's the thing. I'm going to give a lot of credit to Andy Reid and the way he drew up that game plan. I'm going to give a lot of credit to Chad Henne for coming in and living up to the moment. But there is a heck of a lot of difference in drawing up a game plan and scheming defensively for Patrick Mahomes and then getting Chad Henne versus having a week of knowledge or even 2 or 3 days of knowledge that you're getting Chad Henne instead of Patrick Mahomes, right? If Cincinnati comes into this game knowing they're squaring up with Chad Henne, that's a heck of a lot different than game prepping for Patrick Mahomes and then catching Chad Henne because of an injury. Kansas City will be in trouble if Patrick Mahomes is any less than like, if he's 80%, Kansas City's still probably going to be, I was going to say favorited, but I was paying attention to the line yesterday when this when the games went final, when the Buffalo game went final, and it was very interesting. So when it became official that we were going to get Cincinnati v. Kansas City, the line opened at Kansas City minus 4.5. Within an hour, the line was Cincinnati minus 1.5. Then within another hour, the line jumped back to Kansas City minus 2.5. And then when I went to bed last night, it was an even money game. So bettors are all over the map on this one. They pushed it heavy from Kansas City back to Cincinnati. Then they pushed it right back to Kansas City. Then they pushed it back to Cincinnati. As of this morning, it was even money when I went to bed last night. As of this AM, Lonzo, Kansas City is -1. And that is you don't see a lot of games that you get minus a flat number.
I will say this. If I were Patrick Mahomes, I'd wear a boot right now.
Oh, I'd be in the ice bath.
Yeah, no, I'm just
electrotherapy.
Whether it's hurt that bad or not, which it probably is hurt pretty bad. It looked painful.
Oh yeah.
But I'm letting everyone think I can't walk.
By the way, did you think that was intentional?
Talked about this a little bit during the break when you were out of the room.
Yeah.
I know some people were saying that. No, I don't think so.
I don't either.
I mean, if you slow it down, it looks like he drove his knee right into the side of his leg. But no, I mean, as I was pointing out on the stream, which you should watch on Facebook and Twitch and Twitter and YouTube, by the way, because we have these discussions during the break. The way Mahomes was moving, the first little bit of the game, he was like on skates.
Yeah.
The only way you're going to stop that is by grabbing him around his ankles. So, I mean, there was no other way to do that. It just was an awkward way that he came down.
Look, with a guy like Mahomes, we saw, remember at the end of that San Francisco-Dallas game, San Francisco had Dak Prescott dead to rights in the end zone for what should have been a safety. And the defensive end kind of ran, and I get why, right? And this is one of the byproducts of the way that we're treating quarterbacks in the league. But the defensive end ran into Dak, kind of put the arms around him, but then did not drive him to the ground, right? And Dak spun out of that, got out of the end zone, picked up a couple of yards, and gave a little second gasp to the Dallas Cowboys late in that game. A guy like Mahomes, a guy like Dak, a guy like Lamar that are not only slippery, but as agile as they are. Wrapping those guys up is not a guarantee you're getting them to the ground. They're slippery, they're athletic, they're quick. The only way to get a guy to the ground like that is to get him wrapped up and then go dead weight. It's like picking up a toddler, right? When you ever picked up a toddler and they just go dead weight on you and somehow they like add body mass to themselves.
It is an amazing thing.
It's impressive. Check them in at the doctor. They're 24 pounds. You go to pick up that baby and they weigh 160 because they don't want to get picked up. They go dead weight. You have to go dead weight on quarterbacks like that. Because if you wrap up and you can't drive them to the ground and they're so athletic, it's hard to do it. With a guy like Mahomes, you just got to go to dead weight, hold on, and wait for help on the tackle. Wait for the assist. I think my guy did that, and unfortunately, because of the way Mahomes was trying to get out of that tackle, he just got rolled up on. That's it. Is there a chance that guy looked down and went, well, there's the ankle, let me fall on those? I mean, yeah. But that's a quick thought. It's a quick thought. Not enough gas behind that theory for me to accuse a Jag of a dirty play. I think it was unfortunate. I would rather have an AFC championship game with a full Patrick Mahomes, but I can't accuse a guy of a dirty play because of it, right? All right. 844-FAN phone, 844-326-3663. Told you we talk about Christian McCaffrey. I want to do that for just a second when we come back. Then, next hour of the radio broadcast, South Carolina picks up a massive recruit this weekend. And I wonder if it sent up a flare to the rest of the country about the Gamecocks. We'll talk about that. We'll get a little college shooty hoops in here as well. It is going to be a busy day on the broadcast. 844-326-3663. Text us at 71307. Start your text with FAN. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Matchups are set next Sunday. It'll be the Eagles hosting the 49ers and the Chiefs at home against the Bengals. Kansas City beat Jacksonville 27-20 on Saturday, while the Eagles advanced with a big 38-7 win over the Giants. On Sunday, the Bengals beat the Bills 27-10, while the Niners knocked off the Cowboys 19-12. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes suffered a high ankle sprain on his right ankle, but the All-Pro quarterback is expected to play in next week's game. He was hurt late in the first quarter Saturday.
I'm not coming out of a playoff game unless they take me out.
And top 25 basketball on Sunday, big upset as Temple knocked off number 1 Houston 56-55. Number 3 Purdue beat Maryland 58-55. Number 15 UConn 86-56 winners over Butler. Hear every play of the NFL playoffs, including the Super Bowl, exclusively on the Fan Upstate. Download the Odyssey app, then search the Fan Upstate and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
I'm Mark Ryan. If you're like me, you're no interior decorator and you need a bit of help putting together an outfit that pops. I'm beyond grateful I met my friends at Smith & James Fine Men's Clothing because they make me look like I know what I'm doing. They'll help.
Good question. I did not see there was an investigation. Kevin?
There's nothing quite like surprising your sweetheart with a new get-up that has you looking your best. Check out their collection today at smithandjames.com and stop by their stores at 222 Drake Street in Greer or at their new location on Verde Boulevard in Greenville.
Tired of getting dinged by monthly fees on your checking account? You need Simple Checking from Home Trust Bank. With Simple Checking, you get all the essential checking services for free, including 100% online access and a free Visa debit card. It's everything you need from a checking account, but no hoops, no surprises, no monthly fees. Stop by
No
today.
football tonight. I might actually watch Raw 30 live.
Simple Checking at home.
Yeah, I'm going to. It's been a while since I watched Raw live, but I might tonight.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes. In 3 weeks,
Presto.
like
Is
magic.
that what you learned in 3 weeks?
She did it really well, though.
Presto.
Nice rolling of the R's, things that I can't do.
It's incredible. After using Babbel, I'm ready to start having real conversations in French.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel. Babbel. Évidemment. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com. Babbel.com.
Kansas City State Company.
By the way, for the 3 of you guys that are interested, our next episode of Ray D and Dio, which is what I'm calling it, to the chagrin of everybody else who's playing.
Yeah, I just cringed. That's the
Ray D
first
and
time
Dio.
I've heard it.
Ray D and Dio is a great name for it.
All we need is Radio.
Ray D and Dio.
Dotto.
Will be February 4th. February 4th is Ray D and Dio. And I have figured out the stream issues. I'm comfortable saying I've finished out the stream issues. So we'll be able to stream the whole thing. Last episode, I successfully streamed the first half. We lost the audio for the second half, and I couldn't figure out why, so I went back and looked. It turned out, Lonzo, that when we came back from break, I forgot to unmute us on the stream.
Hey, at least you figured it out.
Trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of pay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
see why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com.
He'll do better, he says.
I know, I'm the worst. Above average dungeon master, below average stream master.
Introducing Total by Verizon, a new no contract, no credit check carrier for you and your family with plans starting at just
Or you could blame the other people in the room who should have noticed. I mean, there are a few people in there who streamed a tad bit. So, you know, you can't do it all, Rob.
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob and Lonzo with you this AM. 9 consecutive games with a touchdown for Christian McCaffrey. Leaves Carolina, ends up having an exceptionally productive time with the 49ers of San Francisco. And I saw the question asked on social media yesterday. Why couldn't CMC do this in Charlotte? And the answer was, oh, he absolutely could have. He absolutely could have. One of the things that makes a great coach is not just being able to take a sheet of paper, draw some X's and O's, and then some V's, and then write up, this is what we want to do here. But it is to take all of those X's and O's lined up against V's with little lines and arrows and dash marks and go, all right, but wait a minute here. We've got this guy who is certifiably good at this and this guy who's not so great about that. And we're going to be lining up against this guy who is really good at stopping this. And we need to know how to X's and O's ourselves into success. And I think that a great coach is separated in understanding how to scheme, right? Understanding how to scheme. Matt Rule very clearly did not. If you have been listening to this show or the Views from Mint Street Pod, new episode dropping very soon, if you have been listening to any of that, you have heard my chief complaints about the CMC era, where that McCaffrey would be running the ball 25, 27 times a game, and about 16 or 17 of those would be off-tackle runs. I'm going, or off-guard runs, and I'm going, no. McCaffrey needs to carry the ball 10 to 15 times in the game. McCaffrey needs to catch the ball 7 to 12 times a game, and 1 to maybe 2 of those runs need to be off guard to make defenses stay honest against him. But McCaffrey was utilized as much as a power back as a finesse back during his time in Carolina, and it kept getting him hurt and kept preventing him from doing what he's doing in San Francisco. It's really, there are times when I get frustrated, not because I think, oh, I could be an NFL head coach, but because the solutions to problems for coaches are oft very simple, very obvious, very in your face, and coaches outthink themselves. Like, Dallas on the last play of that game against San Francisco last night. You got to go 60. You've got a couple of seconds left to do it. So what do? Line up without an offensive line. You put in a running back to snap the ball, to then block 2 defensive linemen so that you could what? What was the game plan there? What was the point?
The element of surprise.
Surprise! This ain't gonna work at all. Zeke got his ass blasted off the line. Dak was under pressure. He made the only throw he could make, and he got his receiver murdered. I was, until there were 3 seconds left in that game, going, Mike McCarthy kept his job. I'd have fired him just on that play alone. Stop outthinking yourselves. Let your playmakers make plays. Hour 2's around the corner on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Non-stop coverage from the biggest sports radio stations in the country. Podcasts dedicated to each NFL team and postseason games streaming live
Courtney and I started The Last of Us on HBO. It's a good start. Good start. My favorite part is that for a video game adaptation, and granted, a video game I have limited experience with, but they kept it true enough to the video game that it does a little bit more than fan service. Like there's a scene in episode 1, which is the only one that's out. There's a scene in episode 1, so it looks just like the level from the game. I mean, looks just like it. Like in the game, one of the obstacles is you've got to sneak under a school bus and through a pipe, and you've got to time it so the spotlights don't hit you. And they did that in the show, and the suspense was remarkable. Courtney loves, I don't love to watch in the next episode of The Last of Us, little spoilers at the end, but Courtney likes to watch them. So I sat there and watched it with it. And they are keeping all of the baddies true to the video game, right? Like they're not a lot of game adaptations. They take the bad guys and they kind of change them for the television series.
Mm-hmm.
The baddies are the same and they're horrifying, and it's incredible. If it was one of you guys that texted the show and said, legit question, how do you get into D&D? Always kind of been curious, but wouldn't know where to start and would look like a noob. The first thing to do is to go to your local gaming stores and ask them, because very frequently they have guys and gals that put on like one-shots where you just show up and they give you a character to play to learn the mechanics of the game.
Yeah, Borderlands Comics and Games does this, and they have guys there that teach you how to play.
Yep.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, and I'm considering doing that. I'm considering asking Rob if I can show up and run one-shots, but I want to get the games I've already started on a more consistent basis. That being said, Rob did tell me at the end of last year that he wanted us to come to the store and stream a couple of episodes.
He's a little busy right now, but I'm sure we will get to it.
All right, let me grab a beverage.
Avoid hiring the best possible coaches and instead hire your boys, because we're close, our families are close, and they've deserved it. And you're finally beginning to see all of this catch up with Dabo. Clemson ends their season 11-0 against the Group of 5, the FCS, and the All Cupcakes Conference, and a record of 0-3.
Y'all should do some autograph merch. Nobody wants our autograph, Kevin. I appreciate it. Yeah, Borderlands is a good place to start. I would go to Borderlands and I would just ask them if they have any, ask them intro to D&D. I would also tell you, wait for it to go on sale, because it goes on sale at different places at different times. But the other option is to pick up the D&D Player's Guide and just read it. It's not a super hard read. It's a big book, but it's not a super hard read. And once you get through the first 6 or 7 chapters, it pretty much lays out how the game works and what the game is. I did have a laugh. We went to Friday night, a winery with a couple of Courtney's friends. Well, our friends, another couple. And I don't know how it came. Oh, yes, I do. The wife of the couple we went with, there is a baby shower happening on the night of February 4th that I have zero interest in going to. I don't have interest in going to any baby showers, but I didn't want to go to this one. And I was like, oh, sorry, babe. Already made plans. Already got the guy scheduled to play D&D. And the other girl in the car was like, I've been interested in starting to play D&D. How do I get started? That is the 4th of Courtney's friends that has said in front of Courtney that they want to get into D&D. And she's starting to get frustrated because it's the one thing she makes fun of me for. Like the one thing she gives me, you're such a nerd vibes about, is playing D&D. And now all her friends. So I'm about to start a one-shot game that is just made of Courtney's girlfriends who want to play D&D together.
That's
hilarious.
It's kind of awesome,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Hilarious is what it is. Kevin said he'll bring you some pasties to autograph.
I thought you already said goodbye. I thought you were leaving, dude.
Oh, hilarious. Also, I did watch the first 3 episodes of Critical Role Season 2. Phenomenal start. Phenomenal start.
Yeah, it's like everything's gone and
Phenomenal
on
start.
fire. It's like,
Yep.
that's messed up.
Phenomenal start. All right, I have to bring you guys a discussion off the air. I have to bring it on. It's a bit of a trivia question. I'm going to ask Lonzo. Now, before I ask it, I'm going to go ahead and preface it with, I'm not going to play the song. I wanted to. I could have pulled it from the archives, and I might later in the show. But I'm not going to play it because I wanted to marinate with you for a little while. Lonzo, the Rembrandts are a band from the 90s. And they had a very popular song entitled I'll Be There For You, which is the theme song to one of the most iconic sitcoms of all times, a sitcom called Friends. And for those of you that were born in the late 90s, early 2000s or later, this show, I'm not going to say it set the standard for sitcom success. I will say it is the sitcom by which every sitcom since has been judged. The theme song, I'll Be There For You, sung by the Rembrandts, is known the world over. The first chorus and verse, because that was what played on TV. To the point that my band plays that song. But so we actually learned the whole song, and now we only play the first chorus and verse because everybody gets into that part, and then when you get past that to the second half of the song, the crowd just dies. So literally we play to the first chorus, and then I just go, hey, all right, stop. Nobody cares about the rest of that song. Here is the question that popped up over the weekend, and it is amazing how many people believe something that isn't true. How many claps are there in that song? You know, when they get to the part where they clap, how many times do they clap?
You got me.
Now we're even.
Okay, we're even. I'm going to go 5.
I want you to play the song in your head.
That's what I was doing. I was counting in my head.
So
But
no one told you life was going to be this way.
that's only 3 claps right
Your
there,
job's a
isn't it?
joke. You're broke. Your love life's DOA. It's like you're always stuck in second gear when it hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your year, but I'll be there for you.
Everybody on the stream also thinks 5. So
Play it in your head, and I want you to just rest on it for a second.
I didn't think it was that great of a show, by the way. I watched the first couple seasons, and then it just got kind of stale, but, you know, to the point where I don't have the song memorized like you. But you playing it helps.
I will argue that Friends, for its time, was a great sitcom.
I think Seinfeld was better, but
I wouldn't disagree with that. There is some level of subjective taste involved. I love Seinfeld, but I love Seinfeld because Seinfeld points out the inane, right? It points out the ridiculous. The episode about the courtesy wave lives rent-free in my brain. It always will to this day. If I let someone out in traffic and they don't courtesy wave, I get infuriated by it, like Costanza.
I will also say, because I'm older, I think Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley are up there too. But
Love
you know,
those shows as well. Used to watch them on Nick at Night before I became so old that Nick at Night is now the shows that I grew up on. Bleep you, Nickelodeon. Anyway, I will argue that for its time, Friends was a remarkable sitcom that dealt with the types of things that adults of that age were dealing with in that day. It addressed social issues. I'll still never understand how Monica and Chandler afforded that apartment in New York on their salaries, but hey, it's sitcom magic. So, with all of that being said, I want you to sing the theme song in your head. Kevin said, I must have missed out what we're talking about. We are talking about the theme song to Friends because it came up in a conversation this weekend. And as a musician in a cover band that plays that song, the song played at one point over my weekend. And I did the clap. So no one told you life was gonna be this way. How many claps go right there? Because the overwhelming majority of people in the small group that I was hanging out with thought it was
5. And
5.
I looked it up just because, I'm tired of waiting. And we're all wrong. So
You are. There are 4 claps to that song. So no one told you life was gonna be this way. There's 4 claps there. This caused, Lonzo, a genuine fight amongst the people in the small group that I was hanging out with that were having this discussion.
what a preppy argument.
It very much is.
That's just such a preppy argument.
I'm not arguing. But I do think you have to keep in mind that everybody in this group was between 33 and 42, right? So all of us were kind of in the younger when it was on range, but the range that Friends catered to. And Friends was the biggest, most successful sitcom of all time to date. In fact, I would be willing to guess that it probably still remains the most successful sitcom of all time. It's probably still at the top of the list.
All right, I looked it up. It debuted in 1994.
Yeah. So Friends in its prime, Rob Brown was like 12, right? And
I was 26. So what? I was past the, or am I right in the demo?
You would have been right in the demo. I was young for that. But I will also say that because Friends was so remarkably successful, Friends remains successfully in syndication today. Go home after the show, flip through channels on your whatever TV subscription you have, and I would be willing to bet $1 to a donut that somewhere on there, Friends is playing in syndication. Because even though the culture and the dress may have changed since Friends was in its prime, the issues it addresses is not. It's kind of like Saved by the Bell. Saved by the Bell is 30 years out of date, but the issues that it addresses for young adults are still very much important, and so Saved by the Bell still runs. And therefore, that theme song, I'll Be There For You by the Rembrandts, is probably one of the most listened to songs of all time. In fact, just because I'm curious and I didn't think about doing it before the show started, I'm going to go look up and see how many Spotify listens I'll Be There For You has. And I would be willing to bet, Lonzo, it is in the hundreds of millions by this point. In the hundreds of millions at this point. So we started this conversation, the song played, and one thing that if you have not hung out with Rob Brown in the past, Rob Brown is an audiophile. I love music.
And loud. He's also loud.
Very. I love music. If there is music around, I will be involved in the music. Up to including rapping every word to just about any Will Smith song or clapping when the Friends theme song comes on. For whatever reason, Spotify's refusing to let me look at the song info. Anyway, the point is, there's 4 claps to that. And then I got real curious and I figured out, why does everybody think 5? It turns out that if you listen to the song,
is there a drum beat in there?
Where the 5th clap would be, there is a snare shot. And if you are not paying attention, it sounds like one. 4 claps to the Rembrandts, I'll Be There For You.
How often do you hit that right on the head where the snare clash hits when you guys cover it?
All of them. We nail it.
Okay.
We nail it.
All right.
Which is why we play that game with the audience after we play that song too. Texter said, fan, Week 1 of the year brought us Weenus Talk. Week 2 brought us Lonzo's nipples. Week 3 brings us the clap. I'm seeing a weird pattern here. And it's Monday, y'all. And it's Monday. That's from Jim. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that. Texture says, fan, definitely 4 claps. Yeah, no, I'm telling you, I know that shot. I know it. All right, let's get to some sports in this thing, shall we? Cam Pringle was the number 1 rated offensive lineman in the state of South Carolina. Cam Pringle, according to 24/7 Sports, is a 4-star offensive tackle with a 90 rating and is one of the best offensive tackles. In fact, one of the top 9 offensive tackles in the country. Cam Pringle had offers from Clemson, from Auburn, and from other powerhouse programs. And over the weekend, Cam Pringle announced that he would be playing his collegiate football at the University of South Carolina. He is a Gamecock. When asked why he would be a Gamecock, Cam Pringle shared a variety of reasons. He said, quote, Carolina is a really good program. It's on the rise, and I have an opportunity to go in and play early and make an impact on the team. It's also right under an hour from my house, and all my family can come to games. I just feel like it's the right place for me, end quote. Cam Pringle's a 6'7", 330-pound offensive tackle. He is what we refer to in the business, Lonzo, as
a big boy.
A big old boy.
Wow, 6'7". Ooh.
Which, by the way, does lead to one thing, and I will say this.
And that's not fat, by the way.
No,
because of the height.
6'7", 330 is a massive individual. I watched, Lonzo caught me this AM. I was watching some of Cam's high school tape this AM before we came on the air. I have literally one issue with Cam Pringle's play right now. And the reason I think the 4-star is a 4-star and not a 5-star. The only issue I have with Cam Pringle is that he stands up very quickly. He plays long. He's got size. The dude's athletic. Not only does he play football, but he has also been a standout on the basketball team and throws shot put and discus for the track team as well.
When you say he stands up really quickly, does he stand up bent over, or does he get into a stance very fast?
I'm talking on the run block, not the pass block. On the pass block, honestly, the guy's pass blocking really impressed me. He's got a very quick back foot fire, right? Is it not? If you know offensive line play, the first thing you're looking for in an offensive lineman out of the pass block is for that first kickback. You want him to kick back and get that center of gravity set very quickly. Because a pass rush is going to hit you in center and then try to throw you off balance left to right. A good pass rusher is going to hit you center and then is either going to try to rip swim left or right, is going to try to get you turned and open the turnstile to get past you. What you want out of an offensive lineman is for that kick step back out of the pass to get set, to find good purchase, and then to allow the offensive lineman to set that center of gravity so that he can't get turned left and right. Cam Pringle's very good at that. The only issue I had is that in the run game, Lonzo, when he comes off firing off the football in a run block, out of the 3 or 4 point stance, he stands up and then attacks, right? I have a problem with that because in a run block scenario, and again, I don't put it into the most football-y terms because most of y'all aren't, football coaches or scouts. But in football terms, that opens up the door. And it opens up the door for a very good rush defending defensive lineman or linebacker to get under you, to get leverage under you and lift you. And you'll see this very frequently, and this is where college coaching comes in. You'll see this very frequently at the high school level, and you'll see it under the high school level because what happens, especially for a guy like Cam Pringle, is they're so much bigger and so much better and stronger than the guys they're lining up against that even with bad technique, even with bad form, you can still just out-athlete the guy that's playing rush defense against you, right? We've seen this a million times. Even with bad technique and bad form, a dominant 6'7", 330-pound high schooler can just fall on top of a defensive tackle, right? I called for Burns this year. The biggest cat they had, Keyshawn Good, defensive end, Lonzo, he went like 265, 270. And he's good. But he went like 270. This guy's got him by 60 pounds. You can just fall on that guy if you're that strong. But what Cam Pringle has not developed as a run-blocking tackle, based on my 20 minutes of film analysis this morning, what Cam Pringle has not developed yet as a rush-blocking offensive tackle, with the right coaching at the next level, can be developed. Stay low, fire off the ball, low man wins, keep the center of gravity. All of that can be developed. Phenomenal at pass pro, needs some work on technique in the rush block. But when you show me film like that, when you show me film of a guy whose only issue is technique, I can work with that, right? He's got drive. He finishes plays. In fact, there was one that I kind of legit laughed out loud. I felt bad for the guy playing DN, but there was a run block where Pringle blocked down to the inside on a defensive tackle. And this poor kid, he was blocking Lonzo, ended up getting pancaked 17 yards down the field. Pringle picked him up off the ground, ran him 17 yards, planted on top of him, and then did the airplane on top of him, right? Like, hey, man, I'm holding my block.
Yeah, there you go. You're not holding.
Nope. Just maintaining the block through the ground.
Just body surfing, sort of.
That is an exceptional athlete. That is an extreme athlete on the offensive line. This is a big pickup for South Carolina. All of the problems that this guy has with technique can be coached.
And this, he needs to be Spencer Rattler's best friend.
Yep.
He needs to be your boy. You need to be hanging with this dude all the time.
This is a cat who is going to be starting in year one. He is going to be starting in year one. There's no doubt about it. Now, my question is, does this send up a flare? Kevin said that's a lot of ass to be pancaked by. Yeah. I do not want 6'7", 330. Oh, sorry. 24/7 has him as 6'7", 338. Don't let me short him those 8. I don't want that on me. No doubt about it. So, the question about this pickup, a guy that was one of the most sought-after offensive linemen in recruiting this year, a guy that was catching offers from pretty much every blue-collar program, decides to #stay home. Does this send up a flare to the rest of recruiting around the Southeast? I got to think that to some degree it does, not just by itself, but South Carolina snuck in on the tail end of South Florence High School quarterback Lenora Sellers. I've watched Sellers game film. This guy is an athlete as well. Lenora Sellers is a guy that, depending on what composite you looked at, is ranked as either a 3 or 4 star. The guy's a 4-star quarterback. I'm comfortable calling that shot. 6'3", 217, has remarkable speed, threw for a 60% completion percentage, 29-49 through the air. Lonzo, 45 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and oh, by the way, rushed for 1,337 yards and 22 touchdowns. 1337 says my guy is elite. He can go. I made that joke because Chris Evans walked.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what that was. It sounded like.
I got it.
It's
Yeah.
nerd speak. Thank you, Chris.
Okay. All right.
The dude is elite. And South Carolina snagged him as well, a guy that also had offers from a number of schools. Remember, he was committed to Syracuse at one point. But that's a snag too. So now you've got an off season where Shane Beamer is starting to grab not just guys from his backyard, but he is starting to grab the guys from his backyard. It's one thing to pick up a handful of the 3-star guys out of your backyard, guys that are wanted by, with all due respect, Wake Forest and Georgia Tech. It's another thing to snag the blue chippers out of your own backyard. It is another thing to snag the top 10 offensive linemen out of your backyard, to snag a top 30, 35, 40 quarterback out of your backyard. And not just to do that, but in the case of Lenora Sellers, to do it at a point in time where your QB room is already stacked.
I want to say there was a time when that was the norm for South Carolina. It wasn't unusual. J.D. Clowney, a bunch of other guys that came in right around the time when Spurrier was there. And you got used to South Carolina winning that battle locally as far as recruiting goes.
It is winning the local recruiting battles, but not just winning the local recruiting battles. It's about winning the local recruiting battles, though, against powerhouse programs, right? It is one thing to beat Georgia Tech for a quarterback out of your own backyard, right? And don't get me wrong, with all due respect to Lenora Sellers, he had pretty much phased most of and this is something I have seen listed as a concern for Lenora Sellers. He had phased most of the blue blood programs out of his recruiting. Remember, he was recruited to and committed to Syracuse. The last offer he got before that was Georgia Tech. I'm not going to say that they went in and sniped a QB Alpha Clemson, but there were a lot of big schools interested in Lenora Sellers when it became obvious that his recruiting was still open despite a verbal commitment to Cuse. I'm going to go ahead and tell you now. And Brandon just popped into the chat and said exactly where I was going. The wins over Tennessee and Clemson got a lot of eyeballs turned to South Carolina. That is one thing. But it is about taking a couple of wins like those. It is about building them on top of a rock-solid foundation and then winning those recruiting battles. Shane Beamer has just, in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion, Shane Beamer has just checked off number 3 on the list of milestones that I wanted to see to believe that he is the dude. Step 1, build a foundation that people want to be a part of. He accomplished that in his first year. Step 2, start snagging a couple of wins that you aren't supposed to get. Tennessee and Clemson at the end of the year were just that. Step 3, start winning the recruiting battles against blue blood programs in your backyard. Step 3 accomplished. Step 4, do the same thing, but be able to do it out of state. You're able to get a top 10 offensive lineman out of your own backyard away from the Clemsons and the Auburns of the world. Now you got to be able to go into their house and do the same thing. Now you got to go to Opelika, Alabama, and steal their 4 stars. Tuscaloosa, Coral Gables, Tallahassee, Gainesville, and steal their guys. When you do that, that is when you are ready to step through the curtain and out onto the stage of relevancy. Steps 1, 2, and 3, check, check, and check for Shane Beamer. What now? What now? All right, let's take a break. I want your thoughts. Gamecock fans, you saw the announcement. Cam Pringle is in the house. He is a dominant left tackle who can be coached up into being, I genuinely believe, top 3-round NFL talent. He's already there. Just needs to work on the technique. What does this mean for you? I think it is the next check mark in a path to not just relevancy, but importance for Shane Beamer's Gamecocks. Is it, though? Your thoughts. Welcome on the show. 844-326-3663. It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. I'm not going to put your comment up, Kevin, but just know that LOL. Just know it made me chuckle. That's all I'll say. Just light LOLs.
There's only one thing in college basketball harder than consistently winning in the road, and that is covering the spread on the road. Which is why the Pitt Panthers are so exciting. Not only are they 13-1 against the spread in the last 14 games, they have yet to not cover the spread on the road. 7-0, and that includes trips to Duke and Syracuse. This is a dangerous team and definitely one to bet on in conference play, especially away from the crib. I'm Trista Crick, helping you beat the books.
Ray Mariotti here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out places do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices.
If you want to have a happy 2023, then don't go through yet another year with that knee pain or back pain. People with chronic joint pain are getting real lasting relief from QC Kinetics. Hey, it's Rob Brown. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine with locations right here in Greenville and Asheville. Their unique protocols use healing agents from your own body to target aching joints, repairing and restoring damaged tissue so you can move again with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. If you've got shoulder pain, hip pain, any arthritis pain, lingering pain from an old injury, don't let them operate on you or give you more steroids and say no to the pain pills. Call QC Kinetics and see if their life-changing all-natural treatment can get you living your best life in the new year. I'm telling you, people are raving about these treatments. It is the future of joint pain management, and appointments are available as soon as next week. So call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation at 864-448-3772, 864-448-3772 in Greenville and Asheville. QC Kinetics, 864-448-3772.
Let's face it, credit cards are pretty much a necessity.
New tires for the car? Here's my card.
I order takeout, here's my card. And most of us just accept the high interest rates credit cards charge as a necessary evil.
What are you going to do?
Get a low fixed rate credit card consolidation loan from Lightstream from $5,000 to $100,000 and pay off those credit card balances. Apply online and you can take your money as soon as the day you apply. The average credit card company charges over 19% APR. But with Lightstream, you can get a fixed rate as low as 7.99% APR with auto pay and excellent credit.
Now I can pay off my high interest credit cards and save money at a much lower rate.
Apply today at lightstream.com/radio and get an additional interest rate discount. That's lightstream.com/radio. Lightstream.com/radio.
Subject to credit approval rates range from 7.99% APR to 23.99% APR, includes 0.5% auto pay discount. Lowest rate requires excellent credit. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/radio for more information.
Sean Ezel entered the mortgage business in 2001 after leaving the Marines. He felt that local veterans and people in the upstate were getting the
Kevin, I have no plans. I have nothing but a large accident.
He started Palmetto State Home Mortgage.
Nothing contrived.
Sean's philosophy was and still is to say yes when others say no. They specialize in FHA, USDA, conventional loans, and 100% financing for VA loans. Find out more about the local veteran-owned mortgage company. Visit PalmettoStateHomeMortgage.com.
Sponsored by Corley Plumbing, Air and Electric.
If someone were smart enough to do something like that or clever, that would be kind of cool, though.
Call Corley Plumbing, Air, and Electric today, or skip the line and book online. CorleyPro.com. That's CorleyPro.com. Now, CBS Sports Radio.
On your radio at 97.7 FM, 1330 AM, Greenville, 97.1 FM, 950 AM, Spartanburg.
Listen on your phone, download the Odyssey app, and search the Fan Upstate.
There's a whole lot more to know about sound. Did you really
you want to go into the subject.
Your smart speaker. Just say play 97 The Fan Upstate on your HD radio at WFBC HD3. Just one more time. And on your computer at the Fan.
FanUpstate.com.
More than the scores. Real sports talk for real sports.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Rob, the great one, Lonzo, with you. 844-326-3663, 844-FAN-PHONE, if you'd like to be a part of the program. You can also text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. So we talked a little bit about Woodland High School offensive tackle Cam Pringle. He is now a South Carolina Gamecock. He will be joining Spencer Rattler on Dow Logan's offense coming up this next season. Look, last thing I'll say about it, won't spend a ton of time here. You're winning recruiting battles, okay? Now, Rob Brown's not the biggest recruiting guy in the world. I will acknowledge that it is probably one of my biggest flaws in terms of this job, right? I'm not the biggest recruiting guy in the world. I will analyze guys when they show up on campus, but my lack of care about recruiting does not make recruiting unimportant. It is the lifeblood of college football. It is the reason I consider my lack of care for recruiting a flaw, because it is the most important thing. I also think there's a lot of it that's overinflated, but whatever.
It's somewhat diminished thanks to transfer portal, though.
I disagree with that entirely. In fact, if anything, I think it's more important than ever, right? And I think it is important in that you want to make sure that you are doing the best you can, and you will miss on this. Everybody makes mistakes. But you want to make, with as much possible confidence, sure that the guys you are bringing in are guys who are truly on campus because they want to be there. And this is where I think the transfer portal stuff comes into play. You want to make damn sure that the guys that are coming there, the things that you tell them that are reasons for them to come there, you better hold up your end of the bargain, right? If you tell a guy like Cam Pringle, a guy who, do not get it wrong, likely already has NFL aspirations. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the talent. Now he just needs the coaching. But if you get a guy like Cam Pringle, who already has NFL aspirations, and he considers your school, and you say, Cam Pringle, you are going to be a freshman starter. You will be making an impact on day number one. Well, then, you better make sure he does, right? You better uphold your end of the bargain. It used to be when kids were stuck on campus with you for 2 or 3 or 4 years, however long they decided to stay, that there wasn't really a mechanism in place that demanded that the promises made by recruits or recruiters to recruits be followed up on. We've seen plenty of stories of kids who get told they're first-year starters and they show up on campus and they don't start in year 1, and in year 2, somebody comes in and gets the start ahead of them, and they're Pine Riders designated. Now there is a mechanism in place to make sure that if you tell a kid, I promise you that if you come to XYZU, that blank will happen, you better make sure blank happens. Because now they can go, hey, you promised me this, you didn't deliver, I am out. Every one of us has likely at some point severed a relationship with an employer, with an employee, with a friend, because they promised X They did not deliver X, and you went, your word's no good. Your word's no good. You promised me this, you didn't deliver. Blah, blah, blah. Cam Pringle said, I'm going to Columbia because I feel like I can be a guy who makes an impact out of the gate. And first off, I believe that to be correct. We know that South Carolina's offensive line next year is going to need some work. Cam Pringle is a massive, massive cog on that particular wheel at this point, literally and metaphorically.
Say, how many more large things can you fit in there? That's a challenge.
Cam Pringle helps you out with that as first-year starter, as a freshman starter, no doubt about it, right? You build that in front of Spencer Rattler. You get juice back. Now all of a sudden this offense has got some gas to it. But it is not just about getting Cam. It's about how you got Cam. It's not just about getting Lenoris. It's about how you got Lenoris. Shane has built a culture at South Carolina that Carolina fans very clearly have bought into, right? We learned that the hard way a week and a half ago. Built a culture that they very much have gotten into. He has built a culture that it is very obvious that most players want to be a part of. And yeah, I'm aware there have been some transfers out. Marshawn Lloyd, Jaheim Bell, etc. Again, Jaheim Bell, I've told you, I understand Jaheim Bell leaving. Jaheim Bell should be being targeted as a first or second round NFL draft pick. Jaheim Bell was not utilized in that role at South Carolina until the end of the season. And at that point, it was too late. Jaheim Bell is going to tear it up at Florida State because they are a tight end heavy machine. Watch. We'll be talking about this in a year. That being said, guys like Lenoris Sellers, guy like Cam Pringle, they are very clearly seeing something laid down in the culture, the foundation in Columbia that they want to be a part of. Step 2, start getting wins with that foundation. You can have the greatest culture and foundation in the world, but if you're not getting wins, it doesn't matter. My favorite example, you guys have heard me mention this guy a number of times over the year, was Randy Shannon down at Miami. Randy Shannon became the head coach at Miami. Randy Shannon built up what I thought was the best the Miami culture had been at years. He got rid of the garbage. He brought in good kids. Miami, I think if I recall correctly, over a 2 or 3 year span, had like 2 kids get arrested in a span where Florida had something like 27. Randy Shannon was churning out college graduates on his football team at like a 93% rate. Over 9 out of 10 kids who went to Miami graduated school. And if you still ride the bus of, I want my program to turn out respectable and productive members of society, Randy Shannon did that at Miami. You know what else Randy Shannon did? 8 and 4s. 7 and 5s, 8 and 4s, 9 and 3s, 8 and 4s. He never took that next step that Canes fans wanted him to. Randy Shannon got what, 2-3 years in Miami, and they canned him because of that. Step 1 is build that culture, that foundation. Shane's done that. Step 2, get those wins that you're not supposed to get. This year, at the end of the year, he did exactly that. He did it last year in a mediocre way with a win over Florida at home where they decimated the Gators. Then they got blown out by Clemson, and all that goodwill went away. This year, he followed up a win over a top 5 Tennessee program by knocking off a Clemson program that effectively was in a win and you're in the playoff spot at that point. So now he's got the 2 major parts, the foundation, the culture, and he's getting the wins that nobody expected him to get. And so recruiting battles become step 3. And I would argue Cam Pringle and Lenoris Sellers are both check marks on that particular box as well. Step 4 now is to take those wins and those recruits in that culture and now perform consistently. Step 4 for Shane Beamer, Lonzo, is going to be 9-3, 10-2 next year.
I think step 4 is competing for the East. then I know there's a juggernaut in there that you're not supposed to be able to beat, but that's the standard right now, and that's who you got to gear your team towards figuring a way out to how to defeat them, and that's Georgia. You got to figure out a way past them, but you got to be competitive for the East.
I think that is the end goal right now, right? I would say that coming out next year, even if you lose to Georgia next year, right? Georgia's going to be good again next year. They got a lot of transfers out. I don't know if Georgia's going to be as good next year as they were this year. They're still going to be good. But if you go out there and you do what you did this year, but you add to it, Lonzo, you add to it a win over Missouri, that gets you to 10. I think you get the win over Missouri, it gets you to 10. All of the sudden, a 10-2 program is a threat, is a real threat.
Yeah, because the thing is, when you're hungry, you're hungry. When you see that, you're putting that out in front of the fans, in front of the players. We've taken this step. You want them to jump past the next step. And being patient, can you really be that in college football? So they need to be competing for the East starting next year.
I don't think that's realistic, right? And I guess that's the other thing.
From a fan's perspective, that's what's going to be expected.
How many of you Gamecock fans expect to compete for the East next year, realistically? Because I'm going to tell you right now, you won't.
See, when you say realistically, that means it's out of the realm of possibility, and it's not. Because some would have said there's no way they could do what they did to Tennessee this year or beat Clemson, and they did.
Beating Clemson was realistic. Improbable, or realistic. Beating Tennessee was unrealistic, and they did it. You're exactly right. I don't have an issue with it, and that's why I'm curious as to what listen, I think it's probably far too early to start defining the expectations of next season because we don't even have a roster formed up yet.
The year that the Gamecocks upset Alabama, there's no way, no chance, didn't belong on the field with them, but they did.
Yeah. And again, they did that with Tennessee this year. A lot of folks argued they did that with Clemson too. I wouldn't. I thought Clemson was realistically beatable, if improbable. So for me, what I'm looking at this year is I want the same thing I did last year, but you've got to take the Arkansas game and turn that into a win, right? That score's got to get flip-flopped. 44-30, it needs to be a 44-30 win next year. You've got to win the Missouri game. That game is inexcusable. You got to win the Florida game. Even last year, I would argue, Missouri and Florida should have been wins. Zero excuses. Those games were bad. There's 10-win season right there. The Arkansas game was winnable. That's 11. The Georgia game was not. Sorry. Georgia was just that good. They were that good then. They're that good now. So the next milestone in the journey of Shano is going to be to not just win those games like Tennessee and Clemson you weren't supposed to win, but to flip the games like Florida and Mizzou that you should have won into W's. You do that this year, you're a 10-win football team. And we're talking even more shine than you've got on you right now. Getting guys like Cam Pringle, like Lenora Sellers, goes a long way into that, to not losing because now you've got the athletes. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute, wrap up this hour. You got any thoughts you want to get in here on the Gamecocks or any other college football talk? Now's your opportunity. I got some college basketball talk I need to get into later on in the radio broadcast. We'll get back to the National Football League coming up later on in the radio broadcast. There's a lot we need to get into on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. You're right there, partner. That sounded like it hurt.
No, it hurt. I can't feel free of my finger.
and relief. Just one
All right, kids, we're back. Thanks for hanging on there.
your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks the daytime non-drowsy coughing.
This show was just flying right by. We only got an hour left.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is the Fan Upstate. Had a Cowboys fan text the show during the break, 71307. Start your text with fan and ask, was that the end of the Dakxperiment in the Big D? Look, Dak had 2 picks in that game. One of them was atrocious. The other one was pretty bad. Dak labeled them both unacceptable. And they were, frankly, right? You guys know that I have jumped on board with creating the NHF stat, right? Interceptions that are not his fault. When the ball hits the receiver in the numbers and they drop it, and it ends up bouncing into the hands of a defender. I do not think those picks should count against the stats of a quarterback. Those 2 picks were both on Dak. There were points in that game where Dak Prescott looked phenomenal. Remember at one point, CeeDee Lamb came down and he came up and he was like pulling on his pinky and pointing to his hand. And then CeeDee came up a minute later with a 45-yard catch that basically saved Dallas from having the field and the script flipped on them. And it was a great throw from Dak Prescott. All I needed to know about Dallas, I got shown in the last few minutes of that game. 2 minutes, 13 seconds left. It's 4th down, and Dallas decides to punt down a touchdown. Now, in a game where your defense had been limiting San Francisco's offense all game long, I'd probably get that. Even though San Francisco was not putting up touchdowns, they were putting up FGs on the foot of Robbie Gould, but they were doing it on 7-minute drives, right? 4, 5, 6, 7-minute drives. So in a game where the San Francisco offense is chewing up and spitting out clock, there's 2.5 minutes left, and you punt the football there. I don't say this very often because I think it's cliche, and I think I think it's something big talkers say a lot. Guys who sit in the chair and have never had to prove it. But that call lacked guts. That call lacked fortitude, and it showed me that you don't believe in your offense in that spot. And again, why would you? They really hadn't accomplished all that much in that game. But then you get the ball back inside your own territory with a chance to win it and 50-ish seconds left to play. And you had no play, no prep, no plan. No plan of attack for that moment in time. The wheels were just off. They didn't fall off. They never got put on, which is bad. And then you come down to 4 seconds left and you line up in a swinging gate offense and have your, which by the way, if I've got to throw the ball down the field in a either Hail Mary or emergency lateral required situation, Lonzo, why would you line your center up in an ineligible position, by the way, and have your running back snap the ball from an ineligible spot? You know that the guy snapping the ball cannot run down the field. Why would you put your running back there instead of your biggest offensive lineman?
I'm just guessing that you're thinking that the alignment is going to mess with the defense to the point where they may be confused and you can take advantage of it. That's the only
Which
thing I
would
can
be
think of.
fine if San Francisco didn't have a timeout, right? If San Francisco didn't have a timeout, which they did and they called, they got to look at that setup, They called the timeout. D'Amico Ryans changed the defense. They came out of the timeout and had the lineup perfect. And you didn't think, all right, now let's bring everybody back in and go to a traditional 5-wide set. And I don't know, have Zeke Elliott, a hands guy, available to go down the field and make a play. Listen, I'm not the world's biggest Dak guy. I'm not standing Dak. I'm not pinning it on everybody but Dak, because Dak had a couple of real boneheaded plays in that game. But that last 2.5 minutes showed me everything I needed to know the problems of the Dallas Cowboys are under the headset, not the helmet. I'm not saying Mike McCarthy's gone. I'm saying if Sean Payton is available for Dallas, he's there next year. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Done at home. Here's Bills head coach Sean McDermott.
This is a tough league and it's a tough business that way. And you learn from things like this. I'm proud of them, even though this hurts.
His Bills fell behind yesterday.
Really, what did you learn?
Immediately at home in the snow.
You can't win the big one? Is that what you learned? I don't know.
They lost 27-10. So Cincy will play a second consecutive AFC title game in Kansas City, where Patrick Mahomes is apparently recovering from a high ankle sprain. The Niners, meanwhile, joined the Eagles in the NFC title game with that 19-12 decision over the Cowboys. That is 12 consecutive wins for San Francisco, and it's 27 years since Dallas got past the divisional round. After being so good in Tampa Bay last Monday night, Dak Prescott threw 2 picks, one of them in the red zone. The Lakers were down 25 at halftime at Portland last night, but they won 121-112. LeBron had 37 points and 11 boards. Kyrie scored 38 with 9 assists, as the Nets beat the Warriors 120-106 after being down 13 midway through the fourth. That's back-to-back wins for Brooklyn after an 0-4 start post Kevin Durant sprains knee. I'm Andrew Burnish.
We're CBS Sports Radio, and our Twitter handle is @CBS Sports Radio. CBS Sports Radio.
Every pro is an MVP to us. As a Lowe's MVP's Rewards member, you can earn bonus points when you shop select products and brands. Then redeem them for exciting rewards like tools, sports memorabilia, e-gift cards, and more. Join today to become a member and start earning. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any, subject to program terms while supplies last. Points expired end of calendar year. Visit Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
Meet Joe A, Joe B, and Joe C. What's up? 3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost credit card at Chase Mobile. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with us. And Joe C's Chase Favors helping him be budgeted to go back to school. Tools that help protect and support the what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member of FDIC.
Secrets, cover-ups, and strange phenomena.
UFOs and ideas that challenge reality itself.
My name is George Knapp. I dig into news stories that others can't or won't.
I'm Jeremy Corbell. For some reason, people tell me things they probably shouldn't. And this is Weaponized. Follow on this new Weaponized, the presentation of Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, Dark Horse Entertainment, and Cadence 13 Studios. Available now for free on the Odyssey app, wherever you get your show.
Hey, who wants to make a resolution they can keep? Let's resolve to eat better pizza. Come on!
So if you ever wondered what kind of damage 4 dragons attacking at once can do to a place, especially 4 different kinds of dragons,
That was good, wasn't it?
now you know.
I enjoyed that tremendously. So I will say that, like, I wondered how.
Cameron has reached the point where he doesn't know what's going on after the last episode.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so he missed the prime part of. Did he watch most of the games? I watched that whole series, which cost me, it was like 127 episodes at about 4 hours a piece. So do the math. How many days of my life I got cost watching them play?
I'm sure you were doing other
I
stuff.
was doing other
right?
stuff while
Yeah,
happened, but I wondered how they were going to handle this part of that campaign, because this isn't a campaign like it got.
I am curious
intense
if
at the
someone's
table.
dead or not. So I can't. I mean, because
So I will say
I
that
don't believe it until.
There's part of me that is very happy that I watched them play this story out, because obviously Mercer put a ton into writing the story, but also Mercer is very committed to, if you guys roll dice that don't go along with the story, I'm going to flip it. Like if something happens based on your bad rolls, it happens, and there's no retconning it, which I very much enjoyed, and that's what I do with you guys too. On the flip side, I'm kind of bummed I watched it because I know what happens. And so it kind of took a little bit of the emotional baggage away from that. But seeing it animated is pretty rad. It's pretty rad, even knowing what's coming.
The only character that bothers me, I talked about this on the air Saturday, is Pike. Because I think, you expect Scanlon to be as raunchy as he is and some of the other things, but when she goes down that road, I think it just takes away from the character. You got to have that one character that's representing light, by the way, to not be like some of the other people, I think.
See, I kind of like the dichotomy, right? Because it's kind of like, I've had people in my life tell me point blank to my face that I can't be a good person based on my beliefs and my behaviors, right? And it's a bit offensive. And so there's a part of me that kind of identifies with that character.
Yeah, but the thing with her, though, it's not consistent. So just suddenly she'll go a certain direction. That's the part that bothers
I don't
me.
think you can point to anything Pike has done and be like, that's evil or that's bad.
No, I'm just talking about language and stuff. QC in the first break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show starts right now. This is the Fan Up State. Welcome back, y'all. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me, the great one, Lonzo. So I am, I don't know, I'm kind of frustrated right now. And I'm a bit frustrated because I'm flipping through during the break, as I am frequently want to do, between sports television channels on the TV. I am scrolling through the social media to make sure there's nothing breaking that Lonzo and I need to break the glass on, whatever the case might be. And in doing so, and I this is where I get frustrated. In doing so, I see literally nothing, Lonzo. Literally nothing. But Dallas Cowboys stuff, right? Nothing. I am watching, not to call them out.
Wait, no Aaron Rodgers in there too?
No Aaron, not even Aaron Rodgers this morning.
Just straight up Dallas disappointment.
Yeah. Not even Aaron Rodgers this morning. In fact, as a matter of fact,
Saw a Dallas guy yesterday in Walmart before the whole thing. And he just kind of nodded me. I think it might have been a listener.
Yeah.
And all I could think of was, you're not going to have a good day. You are not going to have a good day.
I put up a tweet this morning because I got frustrated, right? I was scrolling through the social this morning, and a tweet came across my platform. And I'm not going to quote it nor paraphrase it. I didn't include it in the tweet because I don't need it getting clicks. But the tweet said something to the tune of how an Aaron Rodgers trade would influence the rest of the National Football League. And this was about a 1,000-word essay on how Aaron Rodgers landing on Team X would impact the league, which I find intriguing as an essay topic, Lonzo, because I don't know about you, I consider myself relatively plugged into what's happening in the league, and I've heard exactly zero talk right now that there is any movement towards a trade. Why? Because Aaron Rodgers is on another juice box up the backside vacation away from the football team. So I got guys out here writing 1,000-word articles on this is what a trade for Aaron Rodgers would look like. And I'm like, all right. I mean, I guess it's something to talk about, but this is what I would consider peak off-season talk. When you flare up a bunch of flames about a topic that is not even being discussed in reality. I would even take that discussion right now because I have been, we've had it on ESPN. It's all Cowboy stuff. We had it on Fox earlier, all Cowboy stuff. I'm looking through.
It does seem to be that it's more about the losers than it is the winners sometimes. And why is that? Do people care about the negative more than they do the positive? I never expected Dallas to win, so maybe that's why. And I think there are a lot of people out there that didn't expect them to win, including their own fans.
There was a movie a number of years ago, and I'm trying to remember what movie it was. It had Eddie Murphy in it. And Eddie Murphy, gosh darn it, what movie was it? Anyway, the movie had Eddie Murphy as the main character.
I'm guessing it wasn't Dr. Dolittle.
It was not Dr. Dolittle.
Nutty Professor.
It was not Nutty Professor, nor was it Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2, or 3.
48 Hours.
No. So in the movie, Eddie Murphy is
Golden Child.
Just everybody yell Eddie Murphy movies at me. Ready? Go.
Well, I am everybody right now.
Fair enough. So Eddie Murphy in the movie is like kind of a, I don't know, describe kind of like a monk, right? Like everything, like this is how he just radiates positivity. And because of that, they bring him on to sell stuff on like a QVC shop at home style network. And there's a really poignant part of the movie, at least for me. And I haven't seen this movie in probably 15 years, but there's a poignant part of the movie where he is selling a chainsaw on this shop at home network. And he's talking to the guy that is the producer, right? And the producer's trying to get him to like saw stuff up.
Why would anyone want to talk to a lowlife like that, a producer?
I know, producers. Ugh. So I can't remember if he's talking to the producer or the host or whatever, but he makes a point and he says, look, he says, here's the reality of our world. I could offer to bring out a piece of wood and with this chainsaw, carve a perfect recreation of Michelangelo's David sculpture, or I could offer to take this chainsaw and saw everything in this studio in half on live TV. And what do you think people would rather see? They would rather see me destroy the studio than create a beautiful piece of art. And he's right. We would rather talk.
Not everybody, though.
The general sense. This is one of those generalizations I'm comfortable to make. Part of the reason why is, and we talked about this last week, I don't remember how or why. Oh, Holy Man, the mom coming through in the clutch. Holy Man was the movie. Good call. Great movie, by the way, if you ever get a chance to watch it. It is a phenomenal. It's got Jeff Goldblum in it, too. Which, if Eddie Murphy and Jeff Goldblum in a movie together isn't good enough to make you watch, I don't know what would be.
Well, I was immediately intrigued when you said Goldblum was in it also. Yep. Is Goldblum, though?
He is a Goldblum-esque character, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, anyway, I thought that to me was poignant, right? And I think there's a direct correlation, and we talked about this last week on the show, to political ads. What type of political ads are the overwhelmingly most produced? Attack ads, right? One of the biggest problems I have with American politics, any party, any level, is that we have got this fascination with attack ads. We would rather see our guy knock down their guy than our guy promote what our guy actually wants to do. So, yes, I think there is some element to the reason why the focus is on the Dallas Cowboys today instead of the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are a very cool story. Christian McCaffrey getting some redemption for all the years he toiled away for no reason in Carolina. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, is on his way to an NFC championship run. These are all stories that should make our hearts full. We should all be happy. But instead, what's the conversation? Hell, I'm even guilty of it based on that last segment. What's the story today? Dal LOLis. Is the Dakxperiment over? Should Mike McCarthy get canned? Is Jerry Jones the problem? That's the discussion. Not Mr. Irrelevant playing for an NFC title game next weekend. Not Christian McCaffrey finally getting the opportunity to prove himself. Not D'Amico Ryans, a guy who has just built an incredible San Francisco defense, who is getting head coaching interviews everywhere because of it. But Dallas. And I'm kind of realizing this, AM, that I have a little bit of a problem with it, right? I've got a promo running from the NBA Finals when Steph Curry got ring number 4. And I came in the next day and I went on a rant because I tuned in and who was every channel talking about? Steph Curry got ring number 4. Woo.
They're talking about LeBron.
They were talking about LeBron. That's exactly right. I come in the next morning and every sports channel is talking about LeBron. Why? It is because sports fans, by and large, enjoy suffering more than pleasure. And I don't wonder if it's not to some degree because only one team can win a ring. Only 4 teams can go to conference championships out of 32, and only one of them is going to walk away with a ring. And so if you are a fan of Seattle, or heck, let's make this easier. If you are a fan of any team except Kansas City, Philadelphia, Cincinnati, or San Francisco, Dallas has now joined your ranks. And what is more fun as a fan to do? Is it to go, what a great story are the 49ers. High five to Zach Taylor. I love the redemption of Jalen Hurts. How about Patty Mahomes being picked up by Chad Henne? Or is it more fun to go, my team sucks, LOL Cowboys?
See, this is more about an seemingly entitled fan base being knocked down a notch again and people taking pleasure in their pain. That's why it's out there, especially like ESPN. This is all about Stephen A. Smith, which is hilarious. How he trolls them every single year. And you know why he can do it every single year? Because these expectations are there every year and they don't meet them. And they haven't in a really, really long time.
27 years since their last bowl.
And people live off of, we're America's team. We've won all these championships. But not in some people's lifetimes they have it.
Now, I will acknowledge this. I think you're going down the right path, and I'm going with you. I will acknowledge this. There ain't a more arrogant fan base in football than the Dallas Cowboys.
See, I disagree, but that's fine. And we're talking pro football. We're not talking.
I'm talking. No. I'm talking every level.
No. Clemson by far is worse.
Clemson's won a natty in the last 4 years. Dallas
True.
hadn't even played for a championship in 27 years. Their Super Bowl trout not only can drive a car, it can drink and it has a mortgage.
I would say Buffalo fans are right up there with Dallas fans.
See, I disagree. I don't think Buffalo fans are arrogant. I think Buffalo fans are fun and over the top. I have never had a Buffalo fan be a jerk. I've seen them go over the top in their own enthusiasm. There is a difference between enthusiastic and fun versus arrogant and a drag.
Yeah,
Cowboys fans are arrogant and a drag.
You can be fun and arrogant and still be wrong also.
I don't disagree. Buffalo. See, I don't get arrogance from Buffalo.
When's the last time Buffalo won the championship? When's the last time they went to a Super Bowl?
But I don't see, with a few exceptions, I don't see Buffalo fans running around going, "We're America's team. Everyone in America."
No, you know
loves
why they don't?
us."
You know why they don't? Because the media took care of that for them. The media is still whining about the overtime rule last year, which was so lame.
You know what's funny?
Because the chosen ones, it's all right. This is their year. The chosen ones, the chosen ones. So what they do is they create an anti-fan base of people like me who get so tired
that's not Buffalo fans' fault.
of being told that this team is something that it's not.
Let's say that that's true. I don't agree with you, but let's say that that's true. That's not Buffalo fans' fault. That's the media, right? That's not Buffalo fans being arrogant. That's if this is true, and again, I don't believe that it is, the only person that I have heard in recent memory bring up the overtime game is you. And Chiefs fans.
And I've heard it a bunch of different places, but we do travel in different circles. James said, I need a VCR to watch Dallas' last Super Bowl win, which I think is hilarious.
But the point is, Dallas fans do I understand that Dallas fans bring it on themselves. My mentor and my old morning show co-host, guy by the name of Adam. Great guy. Love the dude to death. But he is a Cowboys fan. And I cannot talk football with him because he is an insufferable Cowboys fan. Right? Insufferable. So I don't talk NFL with him. We'll talk college ball. We talk basketball. I just can't talk NFL with him. Right? And there is a part of me that, despite the fact that I love Adam as a brother, I absolutely would have paid money to be a fly on the wall of Adam's household last night because he was talking all the smack about the boys beating the Niners. And if you pick Brock over Dak, it's this and you're that because we're them boys. They bring it on themselves, and I agree
Who'd you
with that.
pick to win that game? I don't remember.
San Francisco.
Okay, I thought so.
I had San Francisco picked. I had Kansas City picked. I had Philly picked. And I had Buffalo picked. So I went 3 of 4. And honestly, I said Buffalo by a point.
I went 3 of 4 because I made the mistake of picking the Giants over Philly.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Ooh, that was ugly. That was ugly. I get the Dallas fans bringing on themselves a little bit, but let me tell you what just happened. We have been back on the air to start this hour for 15 minutes. When we came on the air, the dudes on this TV show we have on in the studio were talking Dallas. They just ended their segment talking Dallas. And their only promo for the only reference of San Francisco was later in the show, we'll talk about the 49ers. And I'll bet you they're going to spend 3 to 4 minutes on it. And that's it. I find the way that we talk NFL interesting because to me, the San Francisco, specifically the 49ers and the Bengals, and to some degree, Kansas City and Philly are all really interesting, right? I think every one of those teams has something that we should be modeling, that other NFL fans should want their teams to model, right? I think Kansas City, you should all be modeling the relationship of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Philadelphia, I think under Nick Sirianni, have shown what a blue-collar football team look like. And a belief in sticking with a quarterback with mental fortitude like Jalen Hurts means. I think Cincinnati shows you what a very good head coach paired up with a quarterback that's got swag and backs it up looks like. San Francisco, despite only putting up 19, San Francisco had the lowest point total of a divisional round winner this weekend. But as I pointed out, it was less because they're not good, and more because that's all they needed, and they knew it. It was obvious by halftime of that game that 21 would be enough to win that game. So they changed their game plan to match that because they, again, get it.
Yeah, I think they took the foot off the gas too quickly. But I think they already believed they had the game won, and they were looking the next week.
No need to go put in extra effort and get yourself bruised up, knowing that you've got a much more difficult contest on the road in Philly next weekend when Dallas very clearly ain't getting to 18 points, right? So, with all of that being said, I just find it interesting that every other team that won a divisional round game this weekend has a hell of a compelling story behind them. And when I tune into the television and the radio, the only story is the Dallas Cowboys. I get it. Like them or hate them, and you know which way I lean, the Dallas Cowboys have one of, if not the largest national audiences in the NFL. It just is what it is. They are still riding the benefit of the success they had in the early 90s. But my goodness, are we missing up on opportunities with some other phenomenal stories going on out of the divisional round right now? I don't understand why Dak Prescott is the discussion and Brock Purdy isn't. I don't understand why Dak Prescott is the discussion and Jalen Hurts isn't. I don't understand why Dak Prescott is the discussion and Joey B going to his second back-to-back AFC championship game isn't. We should all want better. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute. My name is Rob Brown. The great one Lonzo is behind the board. You, ladies and gentlemen, are listening to The Rob Brown Show. You are listening to The Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, got a live read. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Dream.com/radio for more information.
Hey, it's the Rise Guys, Matt, Man, and 9. You've been asking us when to get the all-new Rise Guys P1.
Yes, Skrilla. That work life will cut into a good social life, man.
By the way, Kevin, I just would like to say, no, you're not the only Bills fan that I know. I shared the airwaves for 14 years with Matt Tomlinson, who was a big-time Buffalo Bills fan, who was also on this station for a couple of years when we were doing Friday Night Rap. So, as always, I think you judge a fan base by the person that you spend the most time with, who's a fan of said team. And I will be forever tainted against the Bills because of that. And I know Jim Kelly is a good story of recovery and everything, but he's a jerk, man. And I hated him back.
He's a jerk because he beat you?
No. I could not stand what a jerk he was back in the day. And it's like you can't say anything bad about him now because, he went through cancer and all that kind of stuff. But I could not stand him.
I met Jim Kelly. He was keynote speaker for our philanthropy group down in Destin one year. He came and spoke to us. Jim Kelly sat at the restaurant after he gave the speech for about 5 hours, just talking, signing autographs, taking pictures. Dude was so damn nice. We paid him a lot of money to be there.
So you're not going to change my opinion.
Why did you hate Jim Kelly? Just because he was a...
There are people, same with John Elway. They're just their way of carrying themselves, the way they handled interviews, the way they were on the field, whatever. But there are some people you just don't like. There are people who tune into this station, can't stand me, can't stand my voice, don't want to see me. They're here just because of you, and I'm glad they're still here. But I didn't like them. And now you can't speak ill of him because then you're a really bad person.
I met Jim Kelly a number of years ago, and the dude was exceptionally nice, like beyond what he needed to be nice and gracious. I find that interesting, right? Now, in fairness, I'll give you a player that's in that same category for me, who I've kind of turned around on, and now he's the same dude, Steve Smith, right? I spent a chunk of my time the last week and a half making the argument that Steve Smith deserves to be a Hall of Fame finalist, and he's not. He got left off the list. Steve Smith absolutely deserves to be a Hall of Fame finalist.
Why?
Just the numbers the dude put up.
Yeah, which
were better than some of the wide receivers
because he bullied the quarterback and basically threatened to beat him up if he didn't throw him the ball. Everybody knows that. Yeah, poor Cam Newton, scared to death of little Steve Smith.
Steve Smith,
Steve Smith broke the nose of his own teammate in practice.
Growing up as a Saints fan in the prime of Steve Smith, I hated Steve Smith. He was a jerk. He was a smack-talking jerk, and I couldn't stand him. Now that we don't square up with that dude twice a year anymore, kind of dig the guy, kind of like him, right? And I will acknowledge that part of it is because, although, and this is selfish, I have been for a while very much we can stop with former players becoming broadcasters because most of them aren't good at it. And I'm not saying I am. I'm saying a lot of them are not.
Steve Smith talks smack. It's what he does. And if you like the smack talk, I'm okay with him on TV and some of the things he's done, like doing sideline things and showing you some jobs that you don't know happen like in the NFL. I think those are really cool segments, and I think he's great on TV. But I also think that he bullied Cam Newton.
I think he's exceptional on television. I think, listen, there are a lot of dudes who take the keep it real philosophy, but they just turn into jerks.
See, at the same time, Keyshawn Johnson, same kind of attitude and everything. Keyshawn Johnson's a jerk, man.
See, I don't even care about that.
Because we had him on the air, and whatever you may think that I think about somebody else, he belittled somebody else who I was sitting across from, and that bothered me.
It's one thing. There are a lot of people in this industry who are absolute jackasses off the air, but they're so good on it that you just have to put up with it, right? Or they're so infamous on it that you have to put on with it. I'll tell you right now, Shannon Sharp disappointed the hell out of me this weekend. Shannon Sharp he just about fought the entire Memphis Grizzlies basketball team.
And I always thought Shannon Sharp was a jerk because he always had an attitude towards Tony Gonzalez and what's his name in San Diego, the other tight end.
Antonio Gates.
Yes. Always had an attitude, act like he was so much better than them, would dog them every chance he got. And I always thought that he was kind of a jerk.
See, I almost understand that because during his entire career, Shannon Sharp was told everywhere he went, you'll never be Antonio Gates. You'll never be these other tight ends that are Hall of Fame material. You'll never be those guys. And Shannon Sharp was always exceptionally good, right? I thought that Shannon Sharp was justified in that behavior because he had been told his whole career, you're never going to be those guys. And it turned out he was those guys. He was just as good or very, very close to it, depending on where you come from. But what I can't do is have Shannon Sharp, a guy who spent a lot of time on the different iterations of his broadcast, saying fans need to shut up. They need to not talk to the athletes. They need to not interact with the athletes during games. And then Shannon Sharp got into a fist fight with the Memphis Grizzlies. And you had better believe I wanted to see Steven Adams put those Kiwi hands on Uncle Shay Shay and remind him, hey, you were a bad mamma jamma 20 years ago on a football field, my guy.
Out of everybody in the NBA, Steven Adams is one guy you don't want to mess with.
One guy.
Yeah, because on a normal day,
before I fought Steven
yeah,
Adams.
I was gonna say on a normal day, Steven Adams looks psycho.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure that's an act. I don't think he cares at all.
I would fight Draymond one arm before I fought Steven Adams with a kendo stick, right? But Uncle Shay Shay decided he had some words for Dylan Brooks, I think. And then he acted shocked when the rest of the Grizz were like, hey, I got an idea, Unc. Why don't you shut your mouth? Why don't you can it, Shannon? You ain't out here, dog. Knock it off. Now, what Shannon said was fine. Bro, Dylan, you can't guard LeBron, which is factually correct. But don't run your mouth at the athletes while they play, and not especially when you are Uncle Shannon Sharp, and not expect them to come back at you, right? But the point is, Unc Sharp has just qualified himself into the list of former players turned broadcasters, and I'm like, why is this guy a thing? Shannon Sharp would not be who he is if he didn't just sit across from a universally disliked jackwagon on his daily show. Right? That's all he's got now.
Jackwagon.
You are no better than the jackass you sit across from and debate every single weekday. You're the same guy. You just disagree with the other jerk. That's all you got. Right? And I got a problem with that. So, listen, I'm gonna tell you another guy who I have praised up until the last 4 or 5 weeks. Tony Romo's kind of wearing on me a little bit too.
My wife yesterday is like, I do not like Tony Romo. I don't get it. Why do people? I'm like, I don't know.
I'll tell you why I've liked Romo. I've liked Romo because Romo was very good at breaking down a play pre-snap, right? And I appreciate that. As a football fan, as an X's and O's guy, I appreciate when Romo would go, look at this guy. He's rolling over here, which means they're going to be in single cover high, which means this receiver over here, if he runs a post route, should be open, and the QB's going to move him to be the one route. Like, I like that. I respect that. I appreciate that. But even Romo's gotten to the point where I think he's gotten a little bit, I don't want to say lazy, but I think he's got a little bit, lazy. I don't know how else to put it. And it's kind of worn off on me a little bit. Now, it's not to say Tony Romo's not still good. He is. He's not my guy. Steve Smith came around because Steve Smith does the keeping it real thing, but he very rarely says anything that I go, well, that's a hot take. Steve Smith speaks with the mindset of a fan, but with the experience of a former player in a way that Steve Smith says something, and I'm like, damn, that's a good point. Steve's heated about it, but that's a really good point, right? He's doing it with Carolina right now.
All right, I got to stop the broadcast right now. You just showed your bare feet in the studio, and I don't know.
I'm wearing socks because I'm an adult.
I don't know how that's tolerated in the studio. Some people have problems with feet, and you just flash your feet, not only in front of me, but in front of the entire world.
First off, I'm wearing socks because I'm a grown-up. Second off, no, I didn't. My feet did not go above the desk like a lunatic.
It did too.
Hey,
Rob,
right here.
Rob, how would I see it if it didn't go? If it didn't go above?
Which is why you said I thought.
Dude,
I showed my feet.
I saw your
when
socks.
I'm wearing socks.
I saw your socks.
Okay.
I think I would go with a different color if I were you. I'm a little
They're
disappointed.
white socks.
Are they?
Yes.
Is that what color that is?
Anyway, back to your regularly scheduled program. I have appreciated what Steve Smith has become as a broadcaster to the point that he's won me over as a dude, right? He's won me over as a guy. Whereas Romo's kind of gone the other direction just this season. I think Romo got kind of comfortable when he got his fat contract, and he's kind of phoned it in a little bit. Steve Smith, on the other hand, has just been that dude who doesn't care. You don't want to feel you're going to fire me? Fire me. But this is how I feel, and with my on-field experience, I'm taking it, which is directly the opposite of the way I felt about him as a player. Why are we talking about this? Because Lonzo told me during the break he hated Jim Kelly when he played. So I'm curious as to who's that player that you hated when they played, but they came around for you after they retired? Who is that player, whatever sport you want, I don't care. Who is that athlete that you hated as a player, but they grew on you after they retired? They grew on you after they walked. There are other guys that have gone the other direction, right? Michael Jordan. Loved Michael Jordan as a player. Loved MJ as a player. Still, as a matter of fact, still have. I own the basketball jerseys of 3 players. I own a Chris Paul jersey from when he was in New Orleans, and he was my guy. I own a Dirk Nowitzki jersey because when I played in high school and through college, Dirk was my dude early in his career. And I own a Michael Jordan jersey because I love the guy as a player. And when my dad went to the Windy City, all I wanted was a Jordan jersey from Chicago, and I got one. But Michael Jordan as a guy after his playing career, I'm not so much a fan of. The dude's a jerk, right? And everybody who has interactions with him has said just that. Unless you can do something for MJ, he's a jerk. So who's that player that you hated on the court, on the field, on the pitch, but you love now that they are retired? Texture says, I hated Charles Barkley as a player, but I absolutely love him now on TNT. I think him and Shaq probably both fit into that.
Yeah, when you think of Charles Barkley, the first thing I think of is, I am not a role model, that commercial.
Yeah.
After he supposedly threw someone through a plate glass window. Which in this day and age, we would be able to see because everybody's got their phone with them.
Janetti was just trying to get out of there. I didn't hate Chuck as a player. The round mound of rebound, mainly because
I always thought he talked so much stuff and they didn't win. I was like, "Where's your championship?" And that was always a thing against them.
I mean, I get it, but I also think we lean too hefty on rings as a determining factor of a guy's career.
Whether we should or not, that's just the way of the world. I'm not sure that ever goes away.
I love the round mound of rebound. Chuck Barkley was a guy that you were a fan of if you were like a mediocre basketball player and your job was to get boards, garbage points, and fouls, right? That was me. So I love Chuck. Even if you hated Chuck, Chuck as a broadcaster on TNT is incredible. Incredible. I think a lot of people that weren't Magic fans or Suns fans or Lakers fans or whatever fans probably hated Shaq too. Shaq as a broadcaster has been incredible. Hated Steve Smith as a player. Steve Smith, the broadcaster, I love the dude. Love the guy. So who's that guy that came around on you? Hated him as a player, loved them in their post-playing career. Kevin says Nolan Ryan. James says Marty Jannetty was a coward trying to escape through the barbershop window. 10 points to James for a great reference.
I've seen him a couple times. He hasn't really recovered from that. Yeah.
Poor guy. I called a Marty Jannetty match one day in the Crestview, Florida VFW. Super nice guy, too. You can tell that it kind of bugged him that he went from the Rockers to obscurity. Poor guy. Poor guy.
Yeah. I almost had him on the air. That changed my mind.
Texas says Eli Manning thought he was a snob when playing, and now the Manning cast has changed.
All right, so I've been racking my brain trying to think of someone, because obviously I'm Colonel Grudge for a reason. I usually don't let that go, but I think I kind of agree with Eli.
Eli's a good take.
Yeah, because Eli was a punk who wouldn't go where he was drafted. Eli was overrated. Won Super Bowls because of everyone around him, and I'm like, yeah, he's the lesser for sure. He's definitely number 3, but all the commercials and everything they're doing, he's really grown on me a bunch.
Eli is a great answer. I would even argue to some degree Payton is a great answer. A lot of people dislike Peyton Manning as a player, and I get it. Peyton was like kind of a jerk on the field.
Peyton won me over with Saturday Night Live. He just did. That just was
Peyton beaming them kids. Unbelievable. All right. So we'll keep going with that. Texas says Tony Romo, bleep a Dallas Cowboy, but he is the best analyst in football. Hurricane Jeff says Bill Laimbeer comes to mind. I get it. Everybody hated the bad boys when they were the bad boys, but all of them, most of them, seem to have become solid dudes after. Hudson said, didn't like Batista as a wrestler, love him as an actor. I'm the exact, Batista's on that group for me too. Could not stand the animal as a wrestler. Love Batista, both the dude and the actor. Batista's on that list for me too. Good call. All right, who's the athlete you hated, but you came around on after their career was over? We got some good answers. Keep them coming. Let's take a break. We'll come back. A few closing thoughts on the NFL weekend, Twitter trending topics, and we'll call it a Monday on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Ms. Lisa, Lonzo has already answered on your behalf.
Yeah, Kevin, I can see Jimmy Johnson too. I couldn't stand him when he was coaching. It just you know, I think all the ones that I couldn't and still can't stand have a certain arrogant air about them that just really bothers me. I don't know if it's a sense of entitlement or what, but it's just something rubs me the wrong way.
All right, so who would be your top 2 answers? Eli Manning and...
Oh, that I've come around on?
Yeah.
That'd probably be it.
Just Eli Manning?
Yeah, I can't. Until the texter mentioned that, I've been racking my brain. I cannot think of anyone. And Eli makes a great straight man. He
really does.
He does.
Well, he's a straight man, but he's not unfunny, you know? Kevin said Nicki Minaj. Get out of here.
Yeah, I agree with you there too, Brandon.
Any Patriot from the run. Brewski's a good pick. I'm going to say, well,
They just all have that Belichick kind of
Yep.
attitude.
they'll say.
It says your biggest tax refund guaranteed, and the chance to double your tax refund. Thousands in weekly prizes during the Double Your Refund sweepstakes. Your biggest refund.
Hated Kevin Nash and thought he helped kill WCW, but I think he's great now. Lonzo's the exact opposite.
I can't stand his politics, and he threatens you if you try to unfollow him.
I want to unfollow him just to see if I get that message.
Unfortunately, when you think of Kevin Nash during the Wolfpack run, you think of the finger of doom.
The finger poke of doom.
Yeah, it's just like the height of poor writing. It just was so bad. Where you look at the TV and went, "Are you serious? They're actually going to do that? I can't
They ran out
believe
of gas.
this is not good."
One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more what's yours.
You're right, James. Had to keep the Hulkster happy.
Brother. That doesn't work for me, brother.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? If your check engine light is on, it may be affecting your MPGs, but the free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help. With the most complete free warning light report,
James Skalski is now a coach with Brent Venables at Oklahoma.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Guess that NFL thing didn't work out.
So they're starting to sell VIP experiences at the Royal Rumble, or I guess they have been selling. And it costs you upwards of $200 to meet Cody Rhodes. My buddy Tim said, only way I'm paying $200 to meet Cody Rhodes is if they shoot off his pyro in the background of our picture.
They really enjoy shooting off that pyro, so there's a good shot that they would probably do that.
My favorite thing about going to wrestling shows is knowing when the pyros come in and watching everyone around me freak out.
Last time you weren't there, last SmackDown, we were so close to the pyro. It
We
was
really were.
I mean, it was the one you didn't go to.
Oh,
yeah, we got closer.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was.
That Raw we went to, we were up on it.
Which I'm still glad I got to see how they do the solo cups, because I'd always wondered about that.
I love that they won't give the stagehands brooms to pick them up. All right, heading very quickly towards the end of this particular radio broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get in here, 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE is the phone number. Texas 71307 on the text line. And give us your thoughts, whatever it is from the weekend. Texas said, go in the opposite direction. I loved Brett Favre as a player. Can't stand the guy now. Yeah, I think there's a lot of folks in that camp.
Well, we're learning some stuff. We are.
I think there's a lot of folks in that camp, and I am absolutely one of them. All right. Let's see. Oh, yeah, real quick. Wanted to throw this out because I think this name is going to be included in Panther discussion next year. ESPN reporter Chris Mortensen reported that the Ravens quarterback, Lamar Jackson, rejected a contract offer that would have paid him $133 million fully guaranteed. Ryan Clark reported that same thing, adding some fuel to that fire. There were some gaps between the two. Lamar got offered $133, all guaranteed, and he said no. Ladies and gentlemen, when the Cleveland Browns signed Deshaun Watson, I said the rest of the league, and I'm talking admin, front office, suit and ties, is going to be rooting for the Cleveland Browns to fail. Not because of Deshaun and what Deshaun is alleged to have done, but because of the contract they just gave Deshaun Watson. And this is what I'm talking about. If I'd have told you 4 years ago that a quarterback was going to turn down a $133 million contract fully guaranteed, you'd call me crazy.
Yeah, he does represent himself, though.
133 mil fully guaranteed. And he said no. Why? Because he deserves more than Deshaun got. At least if you ask him.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
Yeah, you faked the throw, man.
Yeah, no,
okay.
That was on me.
Okay. I even paused like 2 seconds and still. All right, time for Twitter Trending Topics. I think that should count as one. That's just me. Where I tell Rob what's trending, and he will tell us why. The first thing that's trending is Maya Rudolph.
So, all right, Maya Rudolph I've seen popped up for 2 reasons today. Number one, I guess she was on the Hot Ones show, which if you haven't watched it, Hot Ones is an increasingly hilarious show.
Not something that I would ever do.
I would do it once. Hilarious. But apparently there's been so much backlash about the M&M's thing that's been going on. M&M's, some people are very, very mad about the way that M&M's what's the word I'm looking for here? Depicts their candy mascots, their spokes candies. And there's been a lot of back and forth politically about candy, which I think is dumb.
Yeah, the spokes candies have been suspended indefinitely, and Maya Rudolph is now the face of M&M's.
Because of the whatever you want to call it, controversy.
I have no idea what you're talking about. And I don't know that I'm sheltered or I just don't care, but I don't know why there's controversy. But you just mentioned political. That's probably the reason why I don't know. Candy's candy.
Right.
I mean.
So M&M's, in a bid to be more inclusive, use the work word if you want, decided that like the female M&M's were going to be less sexy, and there was going to be a trans M&M. There was going to be all these different M&M's, and some people decided that was too woke for them, and other people that decided to attack those people. And it's the dumbest, stupidest argument we as a country have had in a long time.
All right, first of all, doing that is dumb. Just let them be candy. They're round. They don't have to be anything else. Have famous voice actors that you didn't know was actually an M&M guy. And just let them do their thing. Keep them round. Don't shape them any certain way. Don't dress them any certain way. Just let them be dumb candy that makes you want to buy delicious candy. Okay, that's just ridiculous. The other thing that's trending among a bunch of others is Steve Austin.
Steve Austin is trending, I assume, because he is one. Well, first off, he's going to be on Raw 30 tonight, which is probably going to be the first and only Raw I watch probably up till WrestleMania, maybe after the Rumble, we'll see. But I've also seen the speculation there is a chance he may enter into the Royal Rumble tonight, which, say what you want, Zoe, the Royal Rumble is my favorite pay-per-view of the year.
Yeah, the Royal Rumble is the only pay-per-view for WWE that I ever got to go see live. I got to see it in Atlanta, and it's an amazing thing.
It's a blast.
Because it's really hard to predict, but we will Thursday.
Yep. Fight Club coming up Thursday at 11:20. I will not be on Upstate Pulse Saturday night, not because I don't want to, but because I'll be at home watching the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I don't blame you. But you'll miss out on an amazing show.
True, I will, but also the Royal Rumble. So
I hate what they moved everything to Saturday. Move it back to Sunday.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow. By the way, my first 5-day work week since like the first week of December.
Yeah, mine too. It ain't all about you, Rob.
I know, but I'm all about me. And I'll be all about me again on tomorrow's edition of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later, brother.
You sound just like Steve Smith, Jim Kelly, to all those guys right there.
All right, dudes and dudettes, thank you all for watching. You're all incredible human beings, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.